All right, good morning. We're ready to call the board meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, July 29th, and it is 10:06 a.m. Please note that we are taking some items out of order, and after the informational hearing, we'll take up board member matters, consent items, and then property tax matters. Ms. Cicchetti, if you could please call the roll.
Good morning. Chairman Gaines?
Here.
Vice Chair Lieber?
Here.
Member Vasquez?
Present.
Member Schaefer?
Present.
Deputy Controller Emron?
Present.
All right, a quorum is present, and the board meeting is called to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Emron, would you do the honors, please?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
If you can, may you all please rise? Right hand over your heart, and we will begin. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is an opportunity for opening remarks, and maybe we could start with Member Vasquez. If you'd like to have a few opening comments, we'll just go across the dais here.
Thank you, Chair Gaines, and good morning to everybody. Just wanted to open up. I know we're on a real tight schedule, so I'll try to go quick here. First, I want to open up with the California Latino Legislative Caucus Foundation recently celebrated its scholarship program's 11th year with announcement of 60 students from across California have been chosen to receive the foundation's 2025 scholarships, each worth $5,000 each, for a combined total of $300,000 in scholarship awards. Winners were evaluated for academic performance, personal statements, extracurricular activities, leadership, special awards, honors, and work history. Congratulations to all the scholarship recipients. Next, I'd like to recognize this July as the 40th anniversary of the National Park and Recreation Month, celebrating the contributions of the hundreds of thousands of parks, recreational workers who maintain our parks and improve the lives of 10 millions of people across the country. Park and recreation programs are essential to the community health. And we forget, without good health, there's no wealth, right? So we got to make sure we take care of ourselves. And the last thing I wanted to, one other thing is, in July is also the National Make a Difference to Children's Month, focusing on the well-being of children and the importance of their development that is so important to me as a former teacher. It reminds us that from mentoring to volunteering, prioritizing those around you, to donating a child welfare organizations, each one of us can make a positive difference in the child's life. And last, I will just end with the National Purple Hearts Day. Will be observed next Thursday, August the 7th, to remember and honor the brave men and women who were either wounded on the battlefield or paid the ultimate sacrifice with their lives. The Purple Heart is awarded to all branches of the U.S. Armed Forces, including the U.S. Coastal Guard. With that, I'll send it back to our chair.
Great. Thank you. Vice Chair Lieber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll keep my remarks very brief today, but I did want to point out that since our last meeting, there are close to 1 million Californians who are now at risk of losing food support benefits through CalFresh, and this impacts our agricultural sector as well. Up to 150 children in California will lose health care, and between 1.2 and 1.4 million Californians between the ages of 19 and 64 could lose Medicaid coverage because of very confusing and uncooked work requirements that don't take into consideration the lives that Californians live. And I did want to point out that we had some very strong testimony before from Member Vasquez about the slow-moving landslide disaster in Rancho Palos Verdes. And this month, there was discussion that in August 2023, Rancho Palos Verdes was awarded a $23 million grant from FEMA to slow down this landslide. In the past several months, FEMA canceled the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities program. And FEMA data found that 86 grants were previously awarded in California worth $1.4 billion for projects like retrofitting and fire prevention, and 95% of these grants have been canceled. So I'll just keep it at that very brief mention of some of the changes since our last meeting. And then we'll have further comments in terms of adjourning our meeting at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, very well. And then why don't we go to Deputy Controller Emron?
Thank you, Chair Gaines, members of the board, the executive director, and the general public. Good morning to you all. In this month of July, I just want to take a quick moment to recognize a real tragedy over July 4th weekend and the lead up to it. It's Independence Day. We celebrate our freedom, and most of the times it's through fireworks. It's an expression of celebration. But there was a tragedy. The Esperado fireworks blast in nearby Yolo County killed 7 people, 3 brothers were in the blast, and what was originally zoned as an agricultural use area became a fireworks explosion. I got to see the video, and it's one of the bigger blasts that I've actually ever seen. There's a whole recovery effort by the Office of the State Fire Marshal, very, very sad, and it just kind of speaks to the dangerous use of fireworks. So in this moment, I just want to extend my heartfelt thoughts and prayers to the members of and the families of that blast. Something tragic and completely preventable. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Member Schaefer.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to mention today the loss of a great lawmaker that has affected all of our lives and will for some time to come, Assemblyman Bill Bagley of the Bagley-Keene Act. Bill Bagley passed away in June. He was 97 years of age. He had not only spent his life as a prominent lawyer, he had argued cases before the Supreme Court on constitutional issues. He had been on the Public Utilities Commission. He was a distinguished graduate of Cal Berkeley in 1949. I'm a class of 60. He was on the law review as a law student, a very brilliant mind. When I had a dispute with him, as I did, like I don't think picking of who's going to be our chair requires a public discussion. That's like when we meet and what time we meet. It's just in-house politics. I picked up the phone and I called Mr. Bagley after I newly joined the board. His wife answered and said he's taking a nap, but he wants to talk to you. He'll get back to you when he wakes up. And sure enough, he woke up and he gave me a call. When he found out I was a Democrat, he really wasn't that happy with me, but he was polite, and he's a big Republican. But we had a nice little discussion, and I was so proud to have at least met him. He was a Phi Beta Kappa when he graduated. He was really a giant among the lawmakers of California, and I just want to salute the late Bill Bagley, who we lost in June, for his devotion to California and how it affects every one of us. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Member Schaefer. I just want to take this moment to announce that we have another grandchild, so we're really excited about that, and that came in July. We had 3 in June, so we've got 4 new granddaughters, and it's been real busy around our household, and kind of right after that, kids started getting sick, and then grandkids started getting sick, so we're grateful for it, but at the same time, we're navigating through illness, but we're coming out on the other side. So things are looking up, but yeah, it's just a beautiful thing to see, and we live in such a beautiful state, and very excited and hopeful for the future. I think at this time, we could go ahead and look at moving on to our next item on the agenda, and this is the, let's see, informational hearing on property tax implications for construction of modular homes to help rebuild after disasters. And I had read an article in the Wall Street Journal that talked about the benefits of modular housing and how they can solve some of the challenges that we have across the country. And of course, we've had our challenges in Member Vasquez's district with the fires, the wildfires. And so it looked like there was an opportunity here for potential use of modular housing with respects to saving money in terms of the cost of construction, and then this element of time that it can be done much more quickly. And so I gave Member Vasquez a call because he's shown leadership in the housing area over the years. And I just thought that with the connection with the fires and your past leadership, if we could move together on this. And so I want to thank you and your staff for helping pull it together as we make this presentation today. And the gavel is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Gaines, and congratulations on the birth of the family.
Thank
You
you.
know, you don't
Mr.
fit the,
Vasquez, before we move forward, let's we have a couple little things to do here this morning. First, we've got our safety announcements before we get into the
Oh,
first
okay.
item.
All right.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine, and then we'll continue on. I could assist in calling the informational hearing if you'd like.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure, okay. Let's start off with our first order of business, which is our safety and informational announcements. First, I want to remind the audience to silence their cell phones and other wireless devices. In the auditorium, the exits are in the front and each side of the stage, and other exits are at the rear. Please take a moment to find the exit sign and location closest to you in the event of an emergency. Our informational announcement: the board meeting will be live streamed to the public and posted on our BOE website. Public comments are taken on each agenda item. If there are any members of the public wishing to speak before the board on an agenda item in person, we ask that you complete and submit to the Sergeant of Arms a public comment appearance sheet located at the entrance of the auditorium. If you wish to speak before the board by telephone, please dial in the phone number and access code provided on our public agenda notice and follow the instructions of the AT&T moderator. If you intend to make a public comment today using the AT&T moderator, we recommend dialing into the meeting a few minutes before your item is to be taken. We recommend this as the audio broadcast on our website experiences a 1 to 3 minute delay between the live stream and the live event. When giving public comments, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. We ask all speakers in the auditorium and the people on the AT&T line to please state your name first before speaking and speak slowly and clearly. This concludes the safety and informational announcement.
Excellent.
We good to go?
Thank you. That
Sure,
was-
we're good now to go. You want to begin with the first item?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Let's go ahead. Thank you.
Do you need an answer, or could I just go ahead and start?
If you'd like to, go ahead.
I will do it.
That's great.
First of all, I just wanted to open up thanking Chair Gaines for his partnership on this. And yes, it's been something that's been dragging on, and then we got hit real hard with this disaster, this wildfire that took place earlier in the year in my district. Actually, 2 of them, one in the Palisades and then one in Altadena. So with that, I just wanted to thank the chair and the board for allowing me to continue with this hearing. I know we've covered several parts of it, but we haven't really delved into this issue of the modular possibility and option. So let me just begin by first welcoming and thanking all the speakers that we'll be hearing from today. Most of them here live in person, but I know the first set of speakers we have will be remote. This informational hearing on the property tax implications for construction of modular homes to help rebuild after disasters. Today we're focusing on gathering information from experts in the modular home industry regarding the use of modular housing to help communities rebuild after disasters and in addressing the state's need for affordable housing. Many disaster victims in California are desperate to rebuild, but become discouraged by inadequate insurance payouts and lengthy timelines and processes involved in obtaining the permits, approvals typically required. Modular housing is significantly less expensive and much more time efficient than traditional construction. And with the recently enacted AB 130 and SB 131, the approval timeline for modular housing would be further reduced. Modular home construction and the possible property tax consequences that would follow can help make housing more affordable and increase production. Our speakers' input today will help us as board to more effectively work with legislators, county assessors, and other officials in the efforts to meet any challenges, address hurdles, or take other appropriate action. I would like to open it up to Chairman Gaines and other board members for opening remarks before we begin this hearing. So I'll turn it over to the chair and anybody else that might want to make some opening remarks.
Yeah, great, thank you. It's just a fact that our communities devastated by wildfire do not rebuild to their former conditions, at least not in any meaningful timeline. As public servants, we should be doing everything in our power to rehabilitate these broken areas, help families recover, and minimize the losses people suffered during these tragedies. More affordable and faster housing replacement would go a long way towards bringing fire-ravaged areas back to life. I look forward to today's hearing and their presentations to learn more about how this modular home industry can aid in disaster recovery. Also, beyond homes lost in these disasters, California has a housing affordability crisis. It's true that our taxes and regulations give us among the highest gas and electricity prices in the country, and that's a tragedy for the working class. Our corporate income taxes are the highest in the western states. Our state sales tax is the highest in the country. All of those policy decisions make getting by in this state much too difficult. But our sky-high housing costs are the worst enemy of working families and young people. Housing is the #1 reason why California has the highest poverty rate in the nation, adjusted for the cost of living. I want to see if we can create quality housing at affordable prices. It's a must for the bright future of the Golden State. And we've talked about this many times before, that if an average income Californian or an aspiring Californian who's trying to work his way up the economic ladder does not have the opportunity to buy a home at an affordable price, then in my view, we're failing as a society for that home ownership. And so, and it often, like we've said before, it's the equity in that home over time that provides a nest egg for retirement. So we're losing that battle across the nation, but I think especially here in the state of California. So anything that we can do and bring forward that presents opportunities for speed, because the cost of money provides a savings immediately, but also the pricing. You can save, I've read, upwards of 20% on the cost of a home if it's a modular versus traditional type of construction. And of course, we're going to learn so much more through this hearing. So thank you. Appreciate it, Member Vasquez.
Thank you. Any other members wish to have any opening remarks before we begin? Seeing no hands. I just have a procedural question real quick, that's more for staff. You want me to just go ahead and start with the items, or do you want to call the items as we go through the speakers? I'm prepared to just run through it if.
Okay, then go ahead, yeah.
All right, we'll do it.
Enjoy.
Thank you. First agenda item is exploring the ways that modular housing can provide a unique avenue of assistance in disaster recovery efforts. As a board, we have received testimony about how the wildfire risk in California is increasing every year. The fires in my district in January of 2025 created widespread devastation in communities like Pacific Palisades and Altadena. And as the recovery efforts transition to rebuilding, it's important to hear about how innovative rebuilding strategies can help these victims and how new construction and property tax issues can be streamlined. We want to open up with our first speakers, and I understand that our first speakers are actually on Zoom, and we're going to open up with B. Stoutzer, the founder and board chair for New Economics for Women. Our first speaker, B. Stoutzer, the founder and board chair for the New Economics for Women, an organization that in part provides funding for affordable housing. Ms. Stoutzer, thank you for your efforts and for taking the time to be here with us and to share your thoughts and ideas, specifically how it impacts modular construction. And I understand I think you've worked on a couple of these projects, and I believe it was in the San Fernando Valley. So looking forward to hearing your presentation, and then we'll open it up to questions from the board afterwards. Thank you and welcome. I see you on the screen.
Thank you, Your Honorable Tony Vasquez, the one and only for Los Angeles. I cannot commend you more this morning for all of the efforts you have made on behalf of California and especially Los Angeles. Good morning, everyone, Chair Gaines and the honorable members of the board. My name again is B. Stoutzer, and I've been asked today to really speak to you about our experience with modular housing. New Economics for Women is a Latina economic development corporation that over 40 years has created generational wealth. We built over 1,700 units, 130 some plus single family, of which we have done modular homes, 8 of them in the San Fernando Valley. We wanted to respond very quickly after the Altadena fires, the fires here in LA, because as of day one, we received calls desperate from families who needed housing because of their home had been destroyed. We immediately went into a planning mode and tried to look at what are the different ways that we might be able to assist, given the fact that we knew the timing would be desperate after 6 to 9 months. Families not being able to afford their rentals and really creating a homeless situation that we didn't want to see happen. So what we are doing today, let me share with you our PowerPoint. Can you see our PowerPoint?
No, it's not coming up right now. We do have a hard copy in front of us.
Okay, I don't know why it's not coming up.
We could run it from here. I believe we have it. I'm gonna hold on one second. We could run it.
We might be able to do it here if you hang on. Yeah, I think it's.
Okay.
There it is.
How about, can you see it? Oh,
We did for a minute.
there it is.
Okay. Hold on.
If you could just give instructions to move to the next screen, we'll be ready.
Sure. So the next one, our goal is to deploy 100 ADU units, which includes project management from the beginning to the end, helping families really understand their financial programming. We have lending tools that we want to deploy under our lending arm, New Communities Investments. We're only seeking private and philanthropic partnership and not public funding because it takes a really long time and there's a lot of complexities to that and really slows down the process. Next. So News Initiative is to deploy 100 units initially in phases. We have have done a lot of research and talked to many manufacturers, and we've been able to identify one that we're very, very pleased with, that not only can deploy 100 units within 60 days, but we can really, and they're assembled within 4 to 2 weeks once all of the site improvements have been made. We believe that this is one of the better quality units. They're fireproof. They have incredible investment values. What we liked about our model is that there are no concrete pads, which usually means that it's a higher cost. It will lower costs for families. That will be way below market that we currently know that is going on. Our goal is hopefully for 1,000. Next. The regulatory barriers that I've been asked to talk about, I only will speak about a few of them. The most, I guess, difficulty is the permitting delays, even by right of ADU projects, with the cities requiring multiple departments and sign off. Planning department is different, even though it's the same product. It takes more time, plus fire, public works, building issues create higher cost and delays. For example, just to get the building permits for Altadena right now, if you look at the current local numbers, there have been out of 7,400 units that have been lost, homes that have been lost, including multifamily. We know that there are 1,326 permits that have been filed to be approved. Only 134 have been issued, of which 15 are ADUs. Next. One of the labor and industry barriers, most people think that, and it's true, trade unions resist due to offsite fabrication, but we know some manufacturers have union labor. The supply chain and scaling limitations of most of the manufacturers are limited and because of just capacity and capital. But most important, I think, for today's session, I'd like to talk about the fact that the capacity of most public agencies to have inspectors on site and timely on site is absolutely impossible. We're hoping one of the recommendations that we would like to make is that the state allow for third-party inspections so that it doesn't add 2 to 3 months to the building process and final approval of permits. Next. Some of the financial insurance challenges that we have faced with speaking about the product and what some of the families that we're talking to, it's clear that construction financing is very difficult when it comes to ADU, not only because of the front-up costs that insurance will not cover, but lenders are not familiar with modular financing as much as we think they are. Insurance companies currently will not insure modular homes. Most of the times they also have, I think, premiums are being affected because some of the insurance companies believe modular homes are the same as mobile homes, which they're not. Appraisers lack complete modular home sales experience, affecting property valuation. Modular homes are appraised at the same level as regular homes, but most of the bankers do not know that, and especially once you have history with modular homes, you know that is the case, but it's going to take time. Also, the loans that are being approved are under the cost of what it would do to have both your home and an ADU built, which is costing families the decision of whether they're going to have to sell or rebuild because they just do not get the capital. Next. One One of the things that I think is mostly clear right now, and it's very tragic, is that the insurance companies are forcing families and individuals to go to the California Fair Plan, even if the ADU is fireproof and exceeds current building standards. We have talked to families that not only have had their insurance canceled, but they've also will not be reinsured and are forced to go to the California plan. Next. I think one of the biggest issues of the misconception that modular homes are like mobile homes because of the low modular building standards across the field, which we hope will change as a result of this tragedy. We believe that modern steel frame construction is worlds apart from the outdated image of stick-built modular and mobile homes. The aesthetics, I think you will find that the market now is much better than it used to be. And most importantly, I think customers have their trust has been damaged because we know many prefab startups have taken deposits and do not follow through with their commitments to build, which we were very surprised to find. Next. In the interest of time, one of the things that I just would like to highlight on this is the fact that modular units are not only can be constructed and manufactured within 45 days to 60 days at the very most, but they can be literally built within a 90-day period, start to finish. The speed and flexibility is really amazing. Because most of the parts are factory assembled and on-site and reduce project timelines. The 30 to 45 days, for example, to manufacture a home on-site is the same time it would take the construction crew to really get the site ready. So within 60 days, they can literally in a week get everything done and ready to go and have families move in time for Christmas, God willing. Next. So some of the lessons learned from the Casitas Coalition, which is a membership of manufacturers, is really recommending resiliency permit centers to expedite the process, allowing ADUs to be built and occupied before the main home is constructed, because right now some of the questions are whether we could do that or not. I think that has been some of the issues for local staff. And that we get pre-approved multi-generational plans, which means the home and the ADU at the same time. Next. Our recommendations, I think, is critical that the state really create a wildfire ADU recovery loan program, establish a state-backed revolving loan fund, and administered by HCD, our local finance agency, and hopefully provide zero to low cost loans for those homeowners who do not have insurance or underinsured and would like to have an ADU that really adds value to their home while they're able to build their regular home up in front of the property. This has been done nationally when we had the housing crisis under the federal government, when this was the Neighborhood Stabilization Act that we were part of that program. A revolving loan program helped us build quickly and sell the units and be able to reuse those funds for the next family and be able to sell to that family at a lower rate than most homes. The next recommendation we would like to make is to deploy targeted ADU construction grants like you currently have, the 40 and 75,000 fire affected homeowners to offset soft costs. But right now it's not being allowed to be layered with FEMA or CBDG or DR funds, which we hope that the state would reconsider. The third recommendation is really to incentivize affordable ADU use with tax credits and forgivable loans, hopefully in the future. That will help families know that within a certain period of time, that loan or a portion of that loan to finance the ADU can be forgiven and they can financially stabilize and make it more affordable for their property. Next. On the deployment side, yes, we agree and we really appreciate AB 1332, and that was passed, that requiring cities to create pre-approved ADU. Enabling fireproof ADU designs would be critical, and adding that to the minimum local review would be very helpful. If we can fast track modular and factory built ADUs will also help. Having HCD really provide a pre-approved modular units for, especially for disasters, it would really expedite families being able to get their plans approved automatically and begin the construction process very quickly. The average pre-approved leverage planned libraries so that families can quickly look at what they can use, what they would like from scratch, and not have to really go through the headache of having to talk to architects and every manufacturer in the world in order to get an ADU done. Next. So thank you for the opportunity. This is our information. If you'd like to have any other questions regarding this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work on this, Ms. Strauss. I know you've done several projects before even modulars even came to play, but now with this new added approach on the rebuild, and I know you've done some of these, or you're working on some of these in the Altadena area, and you kind of touched on it in your remarks that obviously going through modular expedites this pretty quick. And I know there's been a couple of recent bills that just were passed and actually were signed by the governor to help try to streamline this. From your experience now working with modular, especially after this fire, what lessons do you see learned, and possibly things that we could use or look at as we move forward, especially on the rebuild side? Because many of these homes, and I think Altadena probably has some of these lots where are pretty deep, where you could literally put up an ADU in the back very quickly and then figure out what you want to do for the main house. Because I know it's taking years for the permitting process. And in looking at what happened here recently with the Paradise, I think we're looking at 7 years since that fire took place. And I understand there's still vacant lots. What can we do to expedite it here between Altadena and the Pacific Palisades?
I think getting state HCD to approve certain designs that are fireproof will help the insurance companies hopefully agree to insure these properties. One of the biggest barriers we are finding is that the insurance companies are not willing to insure, therefore lenders are not willing to lend. So it's a catch-22 situation. An ADU, for start to finish, if you have the right manufacturer with the right quality, you can have a home up within 90 days at the max. For standard stick build, modular, standard stick build home, you're talking about 8 months to a year and a half, and maybe 2, depending on the complexity of the project. Right now, even that is a hindrance because of the insurance companies not willing to insure anyone in a high fire district area, requiring or mandating that insurance companies consider fireproof designs and lower their risk should not be a problem, but currently we're in that terrible situation where nobody wants to move first. That's one. The other, I think, barrier to what is happening in Altadena, not necessarily in Pacific Palisades, is the cleaning of the sites. Most of the insurance and what was done by FEMA is only for the home and not for the backyard. So that's taking time. And not having the right amount of, I would call, case management for families to really understand the ramifications of rebuilding. There are a lot of manufacturers out there, but they're not necessarily going to be able to produce that many homes that quickly just because of capacity and the issues involved. in getting the permits and trying to design for each of those lots, I think we're working very well with the county and with UCLA and some of the other individuals that are trying to help Altadena rebuild, to try to see how might we bring in best practices and get pre-approved designs quickly done by the local county as well as the state. But I think one of the biggest barriers, and believe it or not, it's a very simple problem, is getting building inspectors, a list of approved building inspectors assigned, because it can really add 3 to 4 months to a building project just because the jurisdictions don't have enough inspectors for the kind of building that's going to take place. The longer it takes, the less families will be able to build. And the more we expedite the process and really create a quality product for families to know that this will stand in place for a long time, the better we are in order to build a bit healthier community as we go along. I hope this answers your question.
Yes, and it actually raises a couple. Let me ask you, in Altadena, I don't know, in the Palisades, I didn't realize that one of the problems they're having is just some logistical questions. For example, the nearest Home Depot, for supplies is the distance. And I think Altadena might be a little bit closer. I don't know if you're experiencing that. Just getting the materials is a bit of a challenge. And then when you do get to some of these locations, they're empty.
Well, if you're looking at modular, the biggest issue you have to plan for is the width of the street, because you have to have the trucks come and assemble, the home either through a crane, or what we have found, it could be through stackable models that can be put up in within a week. The fact that for prefab homes, which is much more, I think, efficient, is because they're being built off-site and the materials are not limited. The ordering of the materials are not limited to the local area, which is what we like. So yes, it is going to be a challenge, and the scarcity is going to get worse the more we start building.
Thank you. Let me see if there's any questions from any of my colleagues. Oh yeah, the Chair Gaines has a question
Yeah,
for
thank you. Great presentation. Really appreciate it, B. And was wondering, can you go over those numbers again for Altadena in terms of the number of structures or homes that were lost? And then,
Sure.
yeah, thank you.
There were 7,448 homes lost in Altadena
Okay,
in the unincorporated areas.
very good.
Yeah, and 1,326 are currently applied for permitting.
Permits, okay,
And currently, there's been only 134 building permits issued, of which only 15 are ADUs.
yeah. That's just very frustrating because we're 6 months out. And I just,
Exactly.
yeah, so we got to zero in on how you do that more quickly. I appreciate your suggestions on, in terms of inspectors. I don't know if are there other services other inspectors that could contract with the city or county involved and provide relief?
Yes, the state has a list of approved building inspectors. If they can allow that to also be increased, as well as really ask the counties to also allow for third-party inspectors so that inspectors can take on quickly, that would help enormously.
Okay, and would a modular home require fewer inspections?
Yes, because all of the fitting of the electrical and the plumbing is pre-done off-site and approved off-site.
Okay.
So a lot of that is already mixed into the time frame.
Okay, and is it, how do you resolve the union issue?
Well, there are some manufacturers that are union, have union
Right.
labor,
Mm-hmm.
which we want to work with. I I don't know if it's a union labor because you can use for single family homes. It is not a mandate to use the union labor. It's only when you have public funds that it's mandated. And I think that's one of the frustrations on the financing side. How much can you be able to afford to bring in the kind of construction company that's going to be able to build as quickly as you would like them to build? It really just depends on the options that the homeowner has.
Okay. I had read that, actually, I read this in Abundance by Ezra Klein, that there was an affordable housing project that was built, I thought it was in the Bay Area, but it was modular. And the manufacturing site was unionized, but there were still challenges with an outside union versus a local union. And they got through it somehow. I don't know exactly how they resolved it all, but you want to try to figure out how to work those things out so you can get the project done.
I know I would not want to be in that middle of a conversation, but I did not know that. But I know that we just spoke and are partnering with one Skype manufacturer who is labor, who has union labor. We're very happy with their product and we're wanting to bring them to Altadena. And so I don't think it would be a problem.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I see Member Schaefer's hand up.
You bring up some good points about the delays at inspection, how in a modular housing you can have a uniform product that maybe there's an institutional automatic approval that should be more mechanical and individual. When I was on the city council, we had a lot of problems with telephone calls being given great priority over anybody waiting at the counter. They would treat any telephone call like it were the first call from the moon and would take care of that, while very expensive contractors would twiddle their thumbs for a half hour or so to get attention. Some of that may still be going on today. I'd like to think that your presentation should be made to the League of California Cities, the Association of California Counties, larger city councils, LA and places like that, where you have specific instances that are prejudicial to the cost of your product. That's what we're all interested in, is the cost of the product being more marketable, and it very easily can increase 10 or 20% when you have undue delays. I have personal friends in my district who have opened restaurants, and it's taken a year of nitpicking just to get clearance. The utilities are as bad as the governments. They give you a clearance and you think you've done everything, but then they come up with this or that you didn't do. And, it's expensive, and they don't come out the next day, they come out the next month. They're not acquainted with the great pressures on the businessman to survive. They don't care. And so that's why I'm happy to see you express some apprehension about that, which I share, and I thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I would just like to add that I hope that as you go into your discovery process, that you really mandate a high quality manufacturing models and to expedite the permitting process as well, but also to really help us bring in lower cost capital so some of these families can be able to rebuild and afford to come back to Altadena. And thank you so much for the honor of being here with you today.
Thank you. I think there's one more question for you, if you have a little bit of time, Ms. Stasser, from our Vice Chair.
Well, thank you so much for your presentation today. This is a great map for us to use in our further inquiry in this area. And I really could resonate with so many of the issues that you've identified. I've found in my own counties, in my district, that many of the counties that have pre-approved plans have not had a lot of takers come forward, even though that removes a significant barrier to ADU development because people simply don't have the capital to move forward. And Mr. Vasquez, as we're going forward, I would really be interested in what is the status of Cal HFA's ADU fund. That's just $40,000, but it's a very useful $40,000 for people that are seeking to do this. And of course, I'd like to look at the insurance issue. I know that the JADUs that are attached can come under a homeowner's policy, but that raises sometimes, I think, difficulties for the homeowner policy to take on that additional risk. So we might want to be talking to the Department of Insurance at some point about that as a barrier. And I very much sympathize with the inspector question. And I found that when I was on city council, we were having to have some of our building staff working remotely and living out of state because they couldn't afford the housing in the Bay Area. And the only way that we were able to hire was hiring people who would be 100% remote and approving plans in that way. So it really is hard for California cities and counties to get any kind of staff to come to work these days. And ironically, a lot of it is dependent on the cost of housing, whether it be rental or for sale housing. So again, I want to thank you for your pathway for us to be able to look at as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you once, I don't see any other hands up, but just wanted to thank you for your time and your expertise on this. And I know we'll be talking more about this, especially on the insurance front, because we actually had our own little hearing on this, and I wasn't aware that the modular is creating an additional problem and burden for these folks as we're trying to expedite these things. We got to figure out that to get through that hurdle as well. But thank you for your time.
Yeah,
And I don't know if you had any closing remarks.
No, other than just, if I can be of any other help, I'm more than happy to provide you any additional information that you like. And again, thank you for the opportunity to bring some of these issues to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mhm.
With that, we're going to move on to our next speakers, and that's, our next speaker is Bobby, and I hope I'm not butchering your name here, Shorai?
Chokri
Are you on the screen?
or Chakri. Yeah, for some reason.
From
there
Menu
we go.
Homes?
Can you see me now?
Oh, I
Yeah.
see you now.
How are you guys?
Thank you for joining us today, and we'll let you go ahead and give your presentation.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you inviting me to speak. My background is I've been in construction development for manufactured modular homes for about 8 years now. I've been involved in real estate for quite some time. And right around COVID, I started my company doing manufactured homes because I noticed so many people that were leaving the LA area due to kind of an affordability gap with our ever rising, home medium prices, and COVID really trapped people into their homes for so long that they started looking to live in, different urban settings and move to more rural markets where they can live in bigger lots and then still travel to LA. So my focus really began on trying to solve the problem for our housing shortage, which kind of led me down the path of, all the issues that prior speaker kind of touched base about, with our issues with our bureaucratic permitting process, the bottlenecks that we have in our local municipalities, and how we can solve these kind of issues. And I think the most important thing that I can highlight to start out is that I spend a lot of time providing education between what modular and manufactured housing is, because I think there's a huge stigma and misconception, not only in California, but throughout the country about what these homes are and how they can essentially help. To be clear, the prior speaker was really focused on modular housing, and that's built to state building code, which is either CBC, which is California Building Code, or ICC, which is an international construction code. The homes that I focus on are called HUD-coded manufactured homes. And essentially what that means is that they're built to federal HUD code, which supersede all state and local jurisdictions. So they're pre-approved by HCD, they're pre-approved by all the local state and, local counties. And the reality of it is we kind of eliminate a lot of the permit bottleneck with that, because when we go to permitting, for example, we have clients in Altadena right now, and when we're dealing with the county, the only thing they really need to review is the foundation structure of the homes that's being connected to the underground utility systems. They have no real issues with the building because they're already pre-approved. So this really helps save a lot of time for homeowners. And the reason that I started my company was that I noticed there's so many companies and contractors out there that are just taking advantage of people that don't understand the process of home building or building an ADU, and they're really taking advantage of them. They're giving them exorbitant prices to build. The reality of it is these homes are built in between 10 and 12 days in a factory. So from the time of permitting, the time that they're built, we can have them on site in 6 weeks. And on site, depending on the level of complexity of, whether they chose a single wide or a double wide or a triple wide, which is basically how many sections the home are, we can finish within a month. And real issue is always educating our local municipalities. In San Bernardino, that took quite some time. We worked in the high desert a lot because they have a lot of rural land. There's a lot of people that want to add homes on vacant land or add ADUs because they have such big land out there. And when the fires happened here earlier this year, we really took it to kind of help out victims in Altadena and in the Palisades. What we're seeing right now, there's a lot of backlog with people getting the proper insurance payouts from their insurance carriers. They're getting a lot of pushback, or identically at the same time, they're living with a lot of grief. They have no place to go, or they're stuck in these situations that are just kind of overwhelming for them. And they're moving at a slower pace in Altadena than they are in the Palisades. Lots are a little bit more cleared out in the Palisades. And what we're offering is to rebuild their homes for a price point that I haven't heard or seen from other companies. We can basically get them back home for between $200 and $300 a foot. If you ever have been involved with any kind of conventional stick-built construction, you're looking anywhere from about $650 to $1,000 a foot. Not to mention that we're not really discussing the monetary savings for the time that you save building back through modular and manufactured homes, because there is a component that you cannot foresee, which is weather delays, inspection delays, problems with inspectors or utility departments. So what most of the modular and manufactured benefits that we get are that we're going to eliminate a lot of on-site waste. We're going to eliminate a lot of the permitting issues that we face. And, quality control is a big thing because these homes are built in a factory setting. What you have are the same skilled laborers building these homes day in and day out. And what's not spoken about enough right now is the fragmented construction labor, workforce we have in California, where the skilled labor is kind of deteriorating. The people that have been, carpenters, high-level electricians, plumbers, a lot of those people that have been in the field for 30, 40 plus years are on the verge of retirement. And there's, not a lot of incentives for people to enter, construction right now, other than the fact that they can't get other jobs, or they may have, crossed over to this country illegally, and this is a great place for them to get going. And, without getting into any kind of politics with the ICE and all of this, but what's happening is our labor workforce is dwindling. So as more homeowners are going to be forced to rebuild, you're going to start experiencing the same issues that we see from the Paradise fires where they haven't built back yet. And if modular and manufactured housing gets a little bit more spotlight, where people can understand the benefits of these construction types and how fast they can get home in a very high quality setting, I think you'll see this sector really take off. I think the biggest issue right now is the misconception that the prior speaker did discuss. People, when they think of modular manufactured housing in particular, they have this stigma of trailer parks or outdated homes that are not affixed to a permanent foundation, and they're considered personal property. But in reality, what we're doing are site-built homes that are built off-site. We bring them in, we affix them to a permanent foundation. They will get FHA loans. They can be appraised like a conventionally stick-built home due to special factors of the way that these homes are built. They're called MH Advantage or Choice homes that are backed by Fannie and Freddie. These homes provide a lot of tools for families. There's even an FHA loan, 103H, that families can apply for to get up to about $1 million, 1.2 million to be exact, from the federal government to rebuild if they use manufactured hard-coated homes. Another component of the homes that we do that I think is very important for me to touch base on is that we have basically created our own modular, patent pending roofing system that is going to be the highest level of roofing resistance ever created, using standing seam metal roofs that really eliminate the vulnerability of most of these homes. As somebody who's been in development for quite some time, California building codes are a little outdated, especially when you discuss how roofs are, their code to the roofing system is outdated. And, what I basically did was come up with a roofing system that we will eliminate a lot of the entry points where the embers during these fires really intruded, from whether it's the gable vents or the roof, the attics, the soffit vents that are all exposed. And we basically eliminated them. And what we're doing is everything is going to be built back with steel and non-combustible materials throughout the roofing system, have very specific patented underlayments that will really create like a monoblock of a unique one roof system where there'll be no entry points for these embers and wildfires. And we are doing that on the first home in Altadena right now that we're in permitting. And what I think is going to happen is when we are done with that home, there'll be quite an amount of coverage on it that will really hopefully educate a lot of people about how amazing our homes are and to bring more light to manufactured housing. What I'd like to do is answer as many questions as I can for you guys in the time that I'm here, because I think that there's so many questions and misconceptions that a lot of people have. And if I can help clear up anything or answer anything about what we're doing that can give you a little bit more background on manufactured housing, I would love to do so.
Thank you. Let me open up with one quick question, and then I'll turn it to my colleagues here. I think on your website, you mentioned that you have some discounts available for those that were affected by the LA wildfires. Could you kind of break that down for us?
Absolutely. I'm offering a discount to anybody in Pasadena or the Altadena area that has lost their home. We're giving them up to a 25% discount on all our pricing. And that's kind of going to stay throughout. I've lived in LA for 40 years. I know a lot of people that were personally affected by these fires, and whether it's just to put an ADU until you figure out your situation, if you want to build, a custom home or conventionally, which is going to take, between 18 and 24 months, we can get an ADU on the property within, about 90 days, and that's with permits. So those permits, my company handles everything from A to Z. We'll do your permitting, your entitlements. We will order your home. We'll deliver your home. We will install your home. It's a completely turnkey process. And those discounts that we're offering will be there. All they need to do is go on the website, say that, there's the direct link. And once they use that link to sign up, they'll be eligible for all the discounts.
Thank you. And the second question I have real quick is, you kind of touched on it in your opening remarks. What is the timeline that you to the completion and move-in on a modular prefab, whether it's an ADU or a home?
Great question. I think there's a couple of components that are involved in this. Timelines really have to do with two things. One is the speed at which the family is ready to move forward. But if we kind of eliminate that from this equation and say that, let's just say you came to me and said you're ready to move forward tomorrow. Because a lot of families are kind of stuck in this period of like not sure of what they want to do. They don't know if they want to go down a modular manufactured road or if they want to build conventionally. And then they're dealing with all these different modular companies that are giving them so much different information. From the point of the time where they've made the decision, and I'll give you an example, we're dealing with an 86-year-old man in Altadena right now, called me and he's bound to a wheelchair. He said, listen, I need your help. I need to get back on my house before January. My ADU lease that I have is going to run out and I don't want to renew it. He said, is that possible? I said, yeah, of course it's possible, but we need to get going right now. So after about 2-3 weeks of going back and forth, we went on his site. We saw his lot was ready to go. Everything's been removed by FEMA and by the Army Corps. He's ready to go. So essentially, we started this permit last week. We're already dealing with the county. And the county over in Altadena has a 10-day turnaround time for your planning. Once we pass planning, we're going to order his home because the reality of it is the building division has no barrier on what the home looks like because it's already pre-approved by HUD. So we're coming HCD approved. And as long as we get our permits, which just say we have permits by August 1st, we can have an ADU on his property about 6 to 8 weeks after that. And we can have it installed within 2 weeks. So theoretically, if he was only going to do an ADU, we could have him living in his home by November 1st. But this particular customer does want to build the garage, and that will have to be built conventionally on site. So that might delay him a little bit, but I do think we can get him in there still before January, which is remarkable when you think about the fires being January 9th and to have a home rebuilt before the first anniversary of the fires. That's kind of the goal that we're heading towards.
Thank you. Let me turn to my colleagues. And it looks like Chair Gaines has a question for you.
I just wanted to follow up on that. So that sounded like for an ADU, that was a 90-day timeframe, and that's based on when the individual makes a decision that they're going to go modular with your company or.
Right. Yes, thank you. These homes are built in a factory, regardless of their size, between 10 and 14 days in the factory. So in reality, they're built in 2 weeks. What happens is you're waiting in line from the time that you order because the factories have a queue. So if we order today, right now our backlog in the factories is about 6 weeks, but we give it that extra 2 weeks because you never know. So we could have the home completed in 6 weeks. It's going to take 1 day to transfer it to the site and probably about 2 weeks to just get it installed, because what we'll have is the whole foundation system will be ready and it's done, at the same time. So concurrently, while their home is being built in the factory, we're going to do all the site prep, have all the utility connections underway. You have to initiate with the local, I believe in Pasadena and Altadena, it's Edison, and they're trying to get all of their power lines underground. That might be more of a delay than anything that has to do with the factory setting at this point and what we do. But we can have an ADU fully permitted, installed, delivered in 90 days. Yes.
So, and how about for a home? What would the time?
The home it's the same thing for the home. The only thing that's that adds a little bit of time is that when so we specialize in a very unique single family home option, which is called the cross mod home. And what that is, it's built by Clayton Homes, the biggest manufacturer in the country. And what it does, it's like a hybrid model of a conventionally stick-built home and a manufactured home. So it's going to have the curb appeal of a regular single-family home, and 75% of the home is built in the factory. What's left on site is going to be the garage and the porch. So we will basically do the whole framing for the whole, the whole foundation system for the home. It gets delivered in a crane. It gets delivered and gets set with 2 cranes. From the time the home is set, then we're going to be forced to go through regular inspections for the conventional garage build, which means you got to go through your framing inspection, your roofing inspection, your interior rough and drywall insulation, and what you would deal with from a conventionally stick-built home perspective. But that's the only nuance that would add some time to the modulars, because there are a lot of families that have pushback on modular because they do want to have a garage. So a lot of people that are looking to modular are kind of looking at it as a short-term solution by getting an ADU,
Okay.
so they can get to the back of their site first. But we're offering both solutions where we can build you a home at the same time.
Okay, that's great, thank you. And you mentioned the foundation. Would that be a slab foundation or a pier, or what type of foundation would be required?
It's a concrete pier foundation with a crawl space underneath.
Yes.
But what we do is we excavate an extra 36 inches. So when we set the home, it's still going to have that curb appeal of a conventionally stick-built home. It will not be on a traditionally really high raised foundation. At most, you're going to get about an 8-inch of block showing at the bottom.
Wow, okay, very nice. And
Yeah.
the insurance aspect that was mentioned with the last speaker, are your designs fireproof? She used that term fireproof.
So all the homes are built in the factory to what's called the BOE setting, which is wild urban interface, which adds all class A rated fire materials to the windows, to the roofing system, to the exterior homes. The siding will be all fiber cement siding, which will give it that non-combustible protection. But what we've come up with at my company is we've taken it to a whole different level. We've spent a lot of time dealing with the firefighters that have actually fought these fires. I've went to different fire stations, spoken to fire captains. We've engineered a roofing system that I believe is going to set the gold standard for roofing. And, you're seeing more of them now. And there are these roofs called standing seam metal roofs, which are made of steel, 24 gauge, and they're all non-combustible. So what happens in most of these fires, and most homes these days have shingle roofing systems. And what happens is when you have wildfires and you have embers flying throughout the air, those embers are going to get caught in the seams of those shingle roofs. If they don't get in the seams of the shingle roofs, they're going to get caught in the vents for the garage, in the under eave soffits that are not protected. They're going to get in attic spaces, and they even got in some crawl spaces in Altadena. And essentially what happens is that what causes the house to catch on fire, it starts on the roof. So by eliminating those seams and gaps, because everything that we do is going to be a panelized clad metal system that not only starts on the roof, but it goes down on the side of the soffits and it goes underneath to the eaves. And all of the venting is going to be non-combustible stainless steel venting. And we even have gutter guards that we've created for the top of your gutter, and so that no leaves can get in there. So essentially what we've done is eliminate all of the vulnerable spots of your home that can catch on fire. So the ability to have your home catch on fire will be a lot lower. Nothing is 100% fireproof unless it's completely a monolithic build. What we've done is essentially created a monolithic roofing system that has very, 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 very small to zero gaps of entry.
Are folks able to get normal homeowners insurance with your product?
So, one of the things that I've been pushing for and trying to get through the underwriters for a lot of the major providers is that if we build homes with this roofing system, can you guarantee them a certain homeowners insurance or pre-approval? As you know, in our state, homeowners insurance has become a big problem. And a lot of the carriers want out because they can't raise their premiums to what they want. So we're trying to come up with a group plan for these homes because it's a nuanced component to have a federally HUD-built home that has such a roofing system. Nothing like this has ever existed. So I think what we need to do is demonstrate and show a couple of these on site where they can kind of understand what this is. And, once it's patented, I think that getting the roofing insurance will be a lot different, a lot easier.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Looks like we have another question here from our Vice Chair, Ms. Lieber. Go ahead.
Thank you. Do you own the factory where the homes are built?
No, I work with the biggest manufacturers in the country. I work with Champion Homes, Clayton Homes, and Cavco Homes. Between those three, they're probably responsible for 90% of the manufactured homes built in the country.
Okay.
And they have over, I think, combined together about 85 facilities throughout the country. And in California alone, we're talking about 18 different factories.
Wow. And are the factories impacted by tariffs?
No, so I'd say 90% of the homes are all built to American-made products. Now, the only components that might get affected by future tariffs that once they get in place are appliances that are coming from overseas. That would be the only real concern. So what the factories have done to kind of offset the potential of these tariffs is they've incorporated what's called a PPP, which is a price protection program that once I order the home, the price is locked with a certain leverage point of inflation up or down to protect consumers from any kind of price increases.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Of course.
We have another question from Member Schaefer.
Yes, I see most of the discussion on ADUs is 1 or 2 bedroom. Is there any market for studios?
Yes, of course. It really comes down to the need of what they're looking for. We have, studios that are about 350 square feet, and the ADUs go all the way up to 1,200 square feet, 3 bedroom, 2 bath. We can customize them to their liking. It's just a matter of, how much room is they going to have on their site. One of the issues a lot of homeowners have right now that I've personally encountered is some of them have grandfathered in setbacks. So their home was either pushed to one side of their property line with no setback at all or to the back of their property line. And if they rebuild conventionally and they change their square footage, they're losing their ability to keep those setbacks. So some of them can't put ADUs because of the size for that reason. So I think once they figure out what direction they want to go in, because I believe in Pasadena and in LA County, there's I think it's 10% like for like. So if you had a 1,500 square foot home, you're allowed to go up to about another 150 square feet without losing your grandfathered in setbacks. But what happens is they might not be able to fit the ADU they want by doing that. So I think it's on a case by case basis.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, wanted to thank you for your time and especially for your effort and willingness to work with some of these disadvantaged communities, specifically here in LA with these wildfires. Appreciate it, and I know we'll be in touch as we move forward with some of these recommendations. Next, we have our panel, our distinguished panel of 3 individuals that are going to be coming up to talk about modular housing and housing affordability, the challenges and opportunities. Input on the past, present, and future use of modular housing to address California's housing affordability crisis, including streamlining the construction of affordable housing, as well as contributions to the increase of all overall housing supply in the state, and recommendations for board consideration moving forward. This second agenda item is exploring the ways that modular housing can provide additional opportunities to increase the supply of affordable housing in the state. Modular housing could provide a unique opportunity to streamline the housing construction process. California faces a shortage of housing units and even greater shortage of affordable housing. The per unit cost of housing construction has increased dramatically over time, and this makes it more difficult to make affordable housing developments financially feasible. With that, let me bring up the three speakers we have up here for our next presentation. And I guess they have them in order here is Bill O'Neill, I guess well, it says four, but I see only three coming up. Oh, there's a fourth one, okay. They have you up here. You must be Bill O'Neill. Okay. Why don't I let you introduce yourselves? We'll go down the road, and then we'll begin with the presentation. We'll start with you, Bill. Why don't you give us a quick introduction?
Bill O'Neill. I work for two companies. One is Solar Impact for a real estate developer. The other is Model Z, which is a modular housing manufacturer.
Do we have a remote mic, or I'm thinking? Oh, there we go.
Would you like me to repeat that?
Sure, please.
Sure. My name
Just
is
for
Bill.
the record.
Sure. My name is Bill O'Neill. I work for two companies. One is Solar Impact. That's a real estate developer. We build affordable housing in Southern California. The other company is Model Z, which is a modular housing manufacturer that builds modular housing for multifamily use.
My name is Partha Dara. Again, I'm representing two companies here. My company, which is United Semiconductors, is a semiconductor company in Orange County. And also, I'm part of the team at Remo Homes, helping them to actually bring affordable technologies from the aerospace and semiconductor industry into housing.
My name is Ryan Blowers. I'm the CTO of Remo Homes. And again, teamwork to innovate these technologies into the housing market from aerospace.
Hi, I'm Vamsi Kotla, co-founder and CEO of Remo Homes. I spent the last 25 years working in advanced industries such as artificial intelligence, in e-commerce and others, and also family construction business. Out of frustration, I put together, frustration gave birth to Remo, and I brought in these two gentlemen to help build the company.
Thank you and welcome. Is there any special order, or does it matter who goes first?
Well, I think these two gentlemen are with the same company, and I have a different presentation entirely. So
Entirely.
we'll do one or the other first. But then the others of it. Would you like to start with them?
Is this?
That's
you
ours.
All right, why don't we go ahead with them, then we'll continue with you, Bill. Go ahead. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay,
For the camera and everything, so.
thank you.
We landed rockets on ships. We wedged billions of transistors onto chips the size of a fingernail. But somehow, we're facing the worst housing crisis of our generation. Good morning, Chairman Gates and members of the board. I'm Vamsi Kotla, CEO and co-founder of Remo Homes. Remo was born from frustration with the lack of progress in housing and a desire to bring the same level of discipline and technology advancement we see in aerospace and semiconductor industries, which, mind you, lead the world in technology, in California companies. So we can finally solve California's housing crisis at the speed and scale it demands. Next slide, please. Or do I make it myself, or? Yes, thank you. California is building fewer homes, and they cost more than ever. And most new homes are still built the same way they were built decades ago, using outdated, inefficient methods that slow down timelines and drive up costs. Probably I'm preaching to the choir here. We all know that. At Remo, we bring a different playbook, one borrowed from aerospace industry. We apply precision manufacturing and engineering discipline to prefab housing. Our approach cuts costs, boosts quality, speeds up delivery, and reduces the environmental footprint of our construction. Of course, and that includes less wastage of materials and noise pollution during deployment. We're a California-based prefab housing company founded 3.5 years ago to bring that model to life. But we're not doing it alone. One thing that's different with Remo, public-private partnerships are key to our strategy. From the private side, we've developed new methods that reduce waste, cut build time, and deliver high-quality, zero-carbon homes. And we're aided by world-class companies such as PPG, Schneider Electric, and Mitsubishi Electric. From the public side, we're backed by a $3 million grant from the California Energy Commission. That's the only grant the California Energy Commission ever gave to a prefab company in the world, and deliver high quality zero carbon house, and supported by Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, one of the most eminent national labs in the world, and by National Renewable Energy Lab, another eminent lab in the world, through funding from FEMA and also funding from US Department of Energy to drive R&D. Together, we're proving that modular innovation can lower costs, reduce waste, and deliver high quality zero carbon housing right here in California while creating stable careers in the trades. Next slide, please. Joining me today to my right are two key members of Remo's technology team. First, Ryan Blowers, our co-founder and chief technology officer. Ryan brings experience from SpaceX and Hermes, where he worked on cutting-edge aerospace systems. Next is Dr. Partha Datta, our chief scientist, a former NASA elite scientist and current chief technologist at United Semiconductors. Our team brings deep experience in aviation, defense, and government contracting, applying the same expertise to wildfire resilient zero carbon housing. Now, I'll turn it over to Dr. Datta to explore how construction can catch up with advanced industries. Please.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me here. It's a privilege to be talking about a subject I know least about, but I'm learning. I'm not a housing expert, but I have spent 35 years in semiconductor manufacturing and aerospace industry. And my company, United Semiconductors, is the first company to be doing manufacturing in space using NASA-funded projects, as well as working with big companies like SpaceX and others. So at Remo, I'm bringing my expertise from aerospace and semiconductors manufacturing into the innovation of housing industry, where we can make streamlined products which could be A, rapid, B, very clean, and C, they're affordable. I think that's one of the things I wanted to bring to the table, coming from a different industry. And when I saw the challenges in housing and how they're built, and we look at the innovation, I think that we can really revolutionize the way things are built in the housing industry. Can I have the next slide, please? Yeah. Okay, so one of the things which I want to focus on is a good example of innovation that has not happened in the housing industry, and that has to do with the insulation. So traditional insulation, still century old, based on fiberglass and wood drywall. It's very tedious. It's very dirty. I mean, you've got a lot of landfills when you actually build a new house or do a refurbishing of a house. So this is a real opportunity to bring in technologies from aerospace and semiconductor industry, where we can really use things like vacuum insulation technologies in the true sense, where our value, for example, of the insulations can be much more higher, orders of magnitude higher than what's available or used today. And B, they are they have got flame retardancy, they're clean, they can be reused. Can I have the next slide also? Yeah, I think I wanted to highlight here that these kind of things which have been, we have seen that in the semiconductor industry through the Moore's law, where we can innovate new things which are much more better in terms of the performance as well as energy consumption and things like that, but it has not happened in the housing industry. So when I come in from those industry, I see these are real low-hanging fruits where these lessons can be used as of now, as we know in the other industries for the housing industry. So, for example, if I look at the insulation aspect of the housing today, we can get high performance and fire retardancy insulation with existing technologies. We don't have to invent anything new. And they're already been used in the other industries like aerospace and semiconductors. B, they have got minimum bill of materials. That means you need very little to really make these structures. We're not talking about more materials, less materials, and that's what we preach in the other industries, minimum bill of materials. The third one is there's no landfill issues. So once they have reached their life cycle in 100 years, you can reuse them, you can recycle them, there's no landfill. So we are getting to technologies which are easier to manufacture much more cleaner, and they have got very high life cycle. And the last thing, which is very important for this industry, I think, is that this industry is very slow in making products. I mean, I heard like in a year, like, many months. In our industry, we make things in like, hours. So this particular technology that we are talking about with insulation, it can be rapidly manufactured in a continuous manufacturing process. So these are the kind of innovation that you can see. If you can pack it into the housing industry, it'll make it much more streamlined in terms of like not only just the performance, but also cost and the rate at which things can be manufactured, and B, they're actually good for the environment, and there is like, many other benefits that, my other presenter, Ryan, would be presenting. Yeah. So I think that concludes my part of the presentation, and thanks again for your, attention. I'll be happy to answer questions after you're done. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you again. Really an honor to be here and talk to you guys about what we do every day, and if you go to the next slide, please. California has done some amazing things, and, we try to, like us as a team, we try to continuously focus on California's ability to overcome some massive challenges in the realm right now. If you take a look at the slide, you'll see like this is kind of off topic, but it's like what innovation does. We used innovation and advancement in the aerospace industry to reduce the cost of payload to orbit. You can see like the shuttle program is up over $50,000 a kilo. The Saturn V, which was the cheapest until SpaceX, was around just under $6,300 a kilo. With SpaceX right now, with the current Falcon 9 system, they're looking at around, just under $2,000 a kilo. But when Starship gets in, it's going to be up to $200, which is kind of, this fast pace, this demand for access to space. Everyone gets motivated and all the competition sets in and starts doing everything they can to lower the cost. If you notice, the complete opposite happens in construction. We have only been doing it longer and longer, but the prices just keep getting higher, and the time constraints continues to extend. So we have to use what California is known for, innovation and integrity, to shake it up, to shake up the building industry, and kind of change the way that we deal with it, the way that we interact with it. If you could go to the next slide, please. Some of the things that we're working on to do this is the innovations of technology. As you can see from the picture, the lower right, that's a vacuum insulated panel that we built. That is a standard wall panel that we use to, basically, we eliminated about 7 layers of product, of your traditional construction of your wall, your sheeting, your insulation, your drywall, your water vapor barrier, all of these things, and we put it into just one individual product. And it's this type of technologies that we feel that we will be able to reduce the overall cost to manufacture housing with. It's innovation of materials, it's a defined process for manufacturing, and repeatable. So that's, one of the other things that we're working on is similar to like your vehicle. This is from aerospace as well, but it's your vehicle has a vehicle identification number. In aerospace, we call it a configuration management system. So that's basically that your unit has a serial number, and every component that's in that serial number is listed in that system, whether it's the VIN or the configuration management system. And that's one of the things that Remo has been working on as well. So we can, not only when we mass produce these homes, that we can track the mean time between failures on every single component that we deploy out there. So we can maintain these homes for, we would love to handle our own maintenance for the first 10 years. Just as the, first reputation management, and then second, just to learn about the equipment that we're putting into these homes to make sure it's the most optimal for its purpose. And it's technology like this that we feel that we can reduce. Well, we've already shown it. We built a house, small deployable shelter with this wall system that you see in that lower right there. We built it 250 square foot and stood it up in 40 minutes with 3 people. So, that's the type of stuff that we would like to take to scale into the 1,000+ square foot range for manufacturing housing. So, thank you.
Wow, impressive.
It's a real honor to serve with these guys. Thank you, Ryan and Dr. Datta. This is just not about innovation for its own sake. It's about fixing real problems with real consequences for real people. For example, in 2023, 93% of new homes in this country were built with combustible wood framing. The legacy, and just not wood framing, same drywall invented in the 1890s, a similar insulation such as fiberglass or another bat insulation invented in the 1890s. Nothing has changed in decades or even a century. So the construction hasn't evolved with the climate risk that currently threatens California. For example, in LA, over 12,000 homes have been destroyed. These fires spread fast, released toxic smoke, and left entire neighborhood in ashes. Rebuilding in fire zones can cost up to $1,000 per square foot, even with insurance payouts, and most of the time the insurance payouts fall short. Construction timelines stretch like 6 to 12 months, and many families simply can't afford. The people who are most affected by these are working class and seniors. This happened in the Santa Rosa fire, this happened in the Camp Fire. So, we'll talk about our solution. It's completely workforce housing and senior housing solution. Next slide, please. Next slide again. Our modular homes are fire resistant, structurally sound, and deployable in weeks, not months. They're energy efficient, moisture and mold resistant, and built to last longer with lower maintenance. That's something my co-founder Ryan Blowers had talked about, the configuration management system. Reducing not just build cost, but also total cost of ownership. That means utilities and also maintenance. With the California Energy Commission's assistance, we've engineered a home that works across 99% of California's population. This is the first in the country to deploy a product, not a project, where these homes can be deployed anywhere in California, almost 99% of the areas, across any seismic, wildfire risk zone, wind load zone in the state of California. And that includes Palisades and Altadena areas. These are also designed to be disabled friendly. So that means wider access, easy to open doors, and easy to turn around in the bathrooms, and so on and so forth. So this solution, as you might have seen in the previous slide, it's a 1,352 square foot, it's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and we're ready to deploy these homes close to $220 per square foot. This is a small a portion of what it really, this is a vastly cheaper solution than what's currently contractors are quoting. And also home is certified or pre-certified, I should say, the IBHS or wildfire approved home, the first standard created for building a wildfire certification in the state of California. And we're the first prefab company to pre-certify our homes to that standard. We are already signed MOUs for over 24 homes across multiple counties, and we're working with local jurisdictions, utilities, and community partners to make them shovel ready. We're also currently expanding our manufacturing facility to scale production all right here in California. We're headquartered in Gardena, but we have partner sites all across California. That is Oceanside in San Diego area, at High Desert, and even Humboldt County. Factory-built housing also means quality control and minimal wastage, just as the aerospace semiconductor industries have done for decades. Next slide, please. Modular construction is essential to meeting California's climate and housing goals. It offers a triple bottom approach of resilience, job creation, and much faster path to increasing supply. But the system is not ready to take off yet. And we'll talk about what's holding the industry back. That's where I believe BOE can play a really influential role in moving things. For example, by aligning the state's demand-side housing tools like low-interest loans from CalHFA and housing vouchers with supply-side solutions like R&D grants, manufacturing credits, and streamlined regulation. WACO, the Center for American Progress, in calling for federal grants and even state grants and zero-interest loans to modular housing factories, similar to the approach used to reshore semiconductor production as a smarter, more scalable way to boost supply than a piecemeal project-based subsidies. I would also add that the same testimony was given on May 14th of this year in the House Subcommittee for Housing and Insurance, and that gentleman gave an example. Typically it costs about $30 million to start a single production line, single family or housing modular factory in the country. That factory can produce almost 5,000 homes or 10,000 apartment units if you over a 10-year lifespan. So that subsidy comes to less than $5,000 per thing. But if you look in place like LA, people are taking tens of thousands, even hundreds of $1,000s subsidizing. So we need to balance the demand side incentives with supply side incentives. This alignment is more than ever, record interest rates, inflation, and potentially tariffs as well. And also, there is another reason. In semiconductor industry, almost 20% of the revenue goes towards R&D. That number in construction is 0.2%. The margins are very tight, so they don't invest much. So this is where the state or the federal agency can play a role in incentivizing innovative products like ourselves. So we're requesting flexible financing, workforce training, and policies that de-risk investment in new building models like modular construction. We really liked what the previous speakers talked about, streamlining HCD approvals and doing third-party inspections via some other things. But we also have a new request that I think doesn't get enough PR, which is the number one reason modular has not taken off in this country is the cyclical nature of housing. So typically there's a factory, and I don't want to say the name, they have a $1 million overhead a week. Just imagine, for example, in LA, last quarter, the housing starts have fell down 55% compared to the same quarter last year. That's another 23, and that particular quarter in 2024, the housing starts are 23% lower than 2023. So with lower margins, housing factories can't sustain because they have a huge fixed overhead. So one of the things, I would also request is you need to have some baseline demand that the government or a similar organization can backstop so that like current environments where the rates are 6%, 7%, even 8%, housing project would still pencil out. To conclude, we Remo Homes, we build better housing, faster, safer, and smarter right here in California. We also believe in building better jobs. Factory-built housing offers more stable hours, safer environment, same location, and improved mental health outcomes for the trades. A lot of people don't know this, but construction industry has the highest mental health crisis. Different job site, different timings, difficult working conditions, underailment. That is something modular can help with. We'd love to also hear from the State Building and Construction Trade Council of California as we seek to engage unions and get their buy-in as well. Thank you, Board Member Vasquez and the entire BOE board for this opportunity to raise the visibility of next generation housing. We appreciate your time and we're happy to take questions.
Thank you. Actually, my first question, I guess, is for Ryan. When you talked a little bit about the challenges moving forward with some of these projects, especially with the modular demand that's now hitting both the Palisades and Altadena. I was wondering, what are some of those challenges and how are you able to customize some of these requests that are coming in, especially from the Palisades?
For us, the majority, a lot of people that have been reaching out to us are all looking for custom solutions. Oh. And one of the things that we're trying to do is come up, we develop a product to solve for X, right? But we want multiple people to try to use the same product to accommodate their needs as well. So if you can restrict the amount of variance in your design process, then you can streamline the permitting process. So I think, one of the big things for us is to like what we've been working on for the last 3 months is basically the design phase for our new unit, the 1,350 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom affordable unit, and trying to fine tune it for the potential customer market so we can streamline the manufacturing process for the product. So I think a lot of it, the big challenge for us is going to be to try to sell people that, you might just need a different color than a completely different layout and stuff, it's not, that's how I feel personally. Kumar, you might want to.
Sure, so we're working with this organization called RADCO. RADCO is the oldest California third-party design agency deputized by HCD. So what we're working with RADCO, they're used to doing project-based work. So we're launching this product. It's called Supremo. It's 3-bedroom, 2-bath starter home that it can be deployed in any climate, any seismic, any wildfire risk zone. So we're creating almost like a table, a checkbox, so that you can, as long as it stays in these parameters, can be deployed anywhere. So there'll be only small customization, but it still stays within those parameters. So that's one way of doing customization. And there's also colors, fixtures, appliances. But the second thing is, this is something we only started last year, is a new panel line, right? Our walls are not made with 2x4 and drywall and insulation. They're made with panels. These are 4 feet by 10 feet panels. So now we're trying to sell these to third-party contractors, even other modular manufacturers and developers, because they're made with very high-performance insulation, fire-rated, structurally sound, and everything like that. So that way, you have the means. You don't care about the time, you don't care about pre-approvals and everything like that, go ahead. So we're trying to sell these panels as a different product line so that other general contractors, other modular developers can use to create custom homes, layouts, and everything like that. But, as something we echoed earlier, our main target is this workforce housing. Your teachers, your firefighters, taking middle-class jobs, even lower income jobs, and senior citizens where, they don't have the bandwidth, they don't have the time, they don't have the money. For that, we designed this Supremo product.
Thank you. There's a couple of questions here. Let me start with my deputy controller. Go ahead.
Thank you, Member Vasquez. I want to thank the presenters today. I thought the slides, the graphs, and the pictures were very, very helpful. I want to talk about this concept of abandoned properties when it comes to modular homes. When renters are evicted, they typically leave the unit behind. But in contrast, modular homeowners face a far more complex situation, sometimes some legal maneuvering. They must either sell the home or relocate to another site. In some cases, the owner of a modular home cannot find a buyer, and they have to leave the home in a residential area. In many jurisdictions, modular homes are considered abandoned property after 30 days. And according to California state law, modular homes are considered personal property, not real estate, much like a vehicle is. And therefore, you cannot use the rules of adverse possession if somebody else can come in, use the ocean test, open, continuous, exclusive, adverse, and notorious to take over the property. So you have many homeowners who have a modular home who either cannot stay there for any longer, and they're kind of caught in this limbo. And if they don't own the land underneath, the landowner can take specific action, including very heavy storage fees. So how, if you are building modular homes for homeowners, how do you balance this and mitigate it?
Sure. By the way, I think that I lost a lot of property. I need to contact you or an agency. There's in my name, there's so much property, I think, in from the controller's office. But I think the big misconception is modular homes are built to the same standard as permanent homes, and they're real property. They're not personal property. I think that we need to make the distinction between modular homes and manufactured homes. I believe your question pertains to manufactured homes, which are personal property. I think chattel is the name they use it. So unfortunately, fortunately, it doesn't apply to modular homes. In California, homes are very expensive. I hope that people don't abandon.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so that's, I'm sorry. Are you finished?
Please go ahead. I have one more question.
Go ahead.
And this idea of the character and preservation of a neighborhood, when you do have a prefab home, and I just want to read off one critique. Why would anyone want a prefab home? They want their old home back, not some cookie cutter option that devalues the neighborhood. Do you have a response to that as well?
Yes, first of all, there is some limitation to customization, but I think the benefits far outweigh the limitations. I live in San Fernando Valley, and we have a huge homeless population and we are having homeless population because not enough homes. I feel like more homes are definitely better, whether they're modular or manufactured, but we definitely offer customization on the colors and the roof lines, and of course adding a garage and a few other porches and everything like that. So there's definitely a thing. Again, we're targeting more workforce housing. This is not for Beverly Hills or Newport Beach type of thing where it's a lot of NIMBYism there. So, but if on the flip side, these are made with steel. I'm guessing less risk to fire. They're net zero. They generate as much power as they consume, so you can potentially zero the electricity bill. Since there is no wood in the structure, at least in the exterior, less mold and pest resistant, so you don't have this, big tent over your home every 5 years like that. So I would say, yes, there is some neighborhood characteristic, I hate to say in quotes, but that's what I feel like. But I think the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks of customization.
Thank you.
It's interesting you bring up this cookie cutter concept because I had the same vision and impression, and this was like back in 2010, 15 years ago. I was involved with the rebuild of 3 high schools in the South Bay, Lusinger, Hawthorne, and Lawndale. If you go to those 3 high schools, and if I took you to visit, I bet you couldn't tell me which one was prefabbed. And because actually the one that's prefabbed turned out to be the nicest looking one if you go out there today. It happens to be Lusinger. Looks like a community college. I'm sorry, go ahead. I think member
Oh, great. Yeah,
Gaines
thank
had a
you.
question.
I really appreciate your presentation. And I guess one question I had would be, have you ever thought of being the developer? You're the manufacturer, so there's a lot of home builders that develop, right? And so they'll do subdivisions. It might be 400 or 500 homes in a subdivision. If you're looking for trying to attack the workforce issue in terms of affordability, you're going to need to do it at scale. And if you did multiple subdivisions or something of that nature,
Absolutely.
I think there'd be real demand with it at your cost point.
Yes, I think that's a brilliant idea. When I used to work in software, when people used to come, like this happened at one time, like, hey, give me this discount, give me everything like that, I can go to this competitor. I was like, just take equity in my company, So I feel that's the route we're going after. I feel we have the biggest synergies with developers, and these developers are always shopping. They don't pay you any money to bid. So I feel that way our long-term strategy and their long-term strategies are aligned. So instead of actually getting into the development business, which we know very limited and it's very jurisdiction specific, so it doesn't scale like manufacturing, we are actually actively talking to various developers on how they can be part of our company.
Good. Yeah, that's good. I've also read that there's a radius in terms of efficiency from the manufacturing point. I thought I read 500 or 600 miles. Is that, number one, is that accurate? And then secondly, it sounds like you've got more than one facility in the state from your map.
Yeah, so we've seen right now with traditional construction going so much, there's a competitor in Idaho. They're sending modules to LA. So I think that old school thing would work, only the difference between traditional modular is less. So you can, you want to stay under that difference so that, your transportation costs. So the specific thing you talk about, 500-600 miles, is come from the driving distance in a day. Yeah. Right? The more, if you go further than 600 miles, you can't cover in a day. You need to put the truck driver and a few other staff over the hotel, motel, and the other complications, liability. Yes. So that goes up. But I feel with us, we are a pan-California solution in the sense we hope to drive within a day to any job site. And we have bigger cost savings that even potentially 2 or 3 days we can take.
Yes, okay. All right, good. I wanted to address this insurance issue too, because my sense is, I think what's happening is the insurance industry is confusing mobile homes with modular.
That's great.
And yet the standards, from what I'm hearing, are much higher on modular housing. I mean, I'm looking at your technology in terms of what you're using for, 5,000 centigrade in terms of heat protection.
Special footing,
Sounds like a space shuttle or something. So, but I don't, are the insurance companies understanding this in terms of
they're not.
technology?
No, it's a frustration because I can't speak to the politics. They just don't want to reduce the cost. For example, you do all the fortification and hardening on your home, the most you would get, the reduction is 1%. Say that like it's your $10,000 insurance, you talk about $100. That doesn't move the needle. Yeah. So I feel, I don't know, fair plan, I would say like maybe can reform to potentially give a break to modular, but the issue with fair plan is the coverage is not as extensive. So I feel maybe they're lacking data.
Yeah.
They want to see these things like play out for a few years. They understand the risk. But one of the things we're trying to do is work with UC Davis. So UC Davis has a unique test lab where you can test out a full home. So we're working with a particular professor in civil and structural engineering, Michelle Barbato, that we can burn an entire home, like
You could try to burn it up?
Exactly, to show that this thing is there. And hopefully that will turn around. And we engaged IBHS. IBHS is a nonprofit that was formed by ex-insurance officials.
Yes.
So we're hoping that by following IBH's wildfire prepared home standard and continue to engage these players in long term, we can actually get a cheaper discount. Because one of the things, insurance is so expensive with homes is a portion of it is soft cost. Somebody assessor, appraiser has to go there, what was there in the home, ignore the personal property, what was it built with, what was serviced, and every home is different. So they take a huge amount of time trying to assess the damage. But modular homes, once it's standardized, think of a car accident. So your car gets damaged, it's much sort of one-day appraiser as opposed to home, it's much more. We feel that you can actually reduce this lower cost and speed it up in the long term with insurance.
Right, similar to the ID numbering of.
VIN
of what
number,
You were
yes.
talking about that, so you would know everything that was in that unit that could
Exactly.
then be replaced.
And its utilization.
Yeah,
That's the best part, when you can see the utilization of the unit.
Yeah.
And, collect that information and optimize the functionality for the occupant.
sure. Yeah, I'd like to see if I could help in terms of communication. I mean, the insurance business, my daughter actually runs it, but I have background in that. So if I could help because I think what we have to do is put you in touch with the insurance companies so they understand the product you're selling and it's not getting misclassified as
That
a
would be
mobile
amazing.
home.
Then they develop a product specifically for like the modular environment, especially built with fire resilience.
Sure, absolutely.
Sorry, I have a quick question on the follow-up to what you said. Is it true that, the insurance commission or actually BOE puts a tax on all the insurance premiums collected in California? If that's true, can you potentially waive the tax for modular homes and maybe you pitch in? For maybe insurance deferment for 5 years.
Well, I think we need to figure out some sort of incentive. So I don't know if, I like the idea of subsidy, but, talked about $5,000 per unit. But I think there are other tax aspects you could look at. If you had an advantage for new construction, how about no capital gains tax for a year? And you'd blow away. In terms of the number of homes that would be built in California, if there was no capital gains tax on any profit built on a home for a year, you would just
applaud
line
that.
up tens of thousands of units, in my opinion. It's something that Malaysia did when they had a crisis with dropping value of their currency versus the US dollar. And the prime minister came in and he reset the pricing on the value of their dollar, attached it to the US dollar, and said, go ahead, anything you build for the next year, no capital gains tax. And everybody just flooded the market. So.
I think, that talks about, we need to have balanced demand-side incentives with supply-side incentives. I think waiving the capital gains tax and manufacturing tax credits, all these things are good supply-side incentives that should balance out, helping with lower rates or helping with down payments and all that.
Sure, there's a lot of different angles to it, to approach it, but we've got to figure out how to get it done and do it in large numbers. So, thank you.
Seeing no other questions, wanted to thank you for your time and especially your insights on this issue, because as we move forward, there's several things we're looking at. Insurance seems to be one that pops up. Obviously, the other one is just to try to figure out how to expedite this process for these folks that are sitting while they're waiting. And I think I shared with you earlier that some of these lots that are sitting so far deep, an ADU makes a lot of sense through a modular while they're figuring out what they want to do with the main house that burnt down. Because, it just takes so long under the current process to get all your permits and go through all the hoops and the finances. And then we're hearing from some of the insurance companies that they're not, some of them, I think, thought they were insured to rebuild as is and were underinsured. And that's going to be a real big issue moving forward as well. Thank you for that. And I'm hearing from some of my colleagues that I think we want to take a quick 5-minute break before we start with Mr. O'Neill. So with that, we'll take a 5-minute break. What time is it now? I got 12:06, so we'll be back at 12:11. Okay.
Sorry, are we staying here in the panel, or do you want us to be here? Or?
You're welcome to stick around.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lisa Thompson, the State Board of Equalization's Taxpayers' Rights Advocate. This year, our annual Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing will be held on Wednesday, August 20th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Everyone is invited to come before the elected members of the State Board of Equalization to have their voices heard. You can participate in person, by phone, or submit written comments before the hearing. We welcome comments, suggestions, or concerns about California's property tax system, the recent Advocates Annual Report, and the Alcoholic Beverage Tax Program. For more information, please visit www.boe.ca.gov/TRA. We look forward to your participation.
Welcome back. Let me call the meeting back to order. And it is now 12:20, and we have Mr. Bill O'Neill, the Vice President of Capital Markets, Solar Impact, to go ahead and give us his presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Solar Impact is a real estate developer in Los Angeles, California. We build affordable housing. We have 800 completed units and about 2,200 more in our development pipeline, some of which are under construction, some of which are complete. My esteemed predecessors speaking here at the podium today have all been discussing ADUs and single-family home type of installations. While our modular unit is adaptable to an ADU purpose, and I'm pleased to report that we in fact have one going in Altadena in the coming weeks. It's really intended more for a multifamily application, and so it's through the lens of multifamily housing that I'd like to discuss how modular can be innovative for California. The first thing I'd really like to say, amazingly and very pleasingly to me, I would echo every comment that my speaker predecessors have made here today about what the challenges and opportunities are in modular. Lower cost, faster development, ease of installation, and potentially really game-changing economics for the family that is able to acquire such a low-cost housing implementation. And that applies to multifamily housing as well. So affordability in housing begins with what it costs to build. If you're building in, say, a LIHTC paradigm where your cost to build is $700,000 a door, you're immediately out the gate building something that's going to be expensive to the end user, and there's no way that that's going to happen without some sort of subsidy of some kind, whether that's tax credits or whatever else. And if we could please go to, I think it'll be the third slide. We can skip the first slide there. Thank you. I probably don't have to tell you that California is amongst the most severely undersupplied housing markets in the country. As this map will show you, most of the country enjoys pretty decent housing supply. California and Los Angeles in general do not. We are the most undersupplied housing market in the country. Can I have the next slide, please? Making the problem worse is the permitting situation in Los Angeles, which projected for 2025, we're looking at 57% fewer permits issued in 2025 than for the average over the past 10 years. That's going to lead to even further restricted housing supply over the next couple of years. Next slide, please. Catch up with my own slides. Great, so I talk about affordability. Our development company currently builds for $279,000 a door, all in. That's construction costs, hard costs, soft costs, admin, financing, you name it, all in, as compared with the typical LIHTC project, which is currently averaging $709,000 a door. So we're already building for roughly a third of that cost. We look at modular housing as being a way to build for less than $200,000 a door, all in. That's every cost associated with building, hard cost, soft cost, admin, land acquisition, financing costs. That would be a complete game changer for the family economics that I referred to a second ago. When we are able to bring that cost to $200,000 a door, and I would project that that's probably 2 years from now. The unsubsidized value of rent for that person living in that unit would be $1,000 a month, as compared with your typical one-bedroom rent here in Los Angeles. Currently, that's $1,900 or $2,100 a door. $1,000 a door for a brand new unit would unlock $1,000 a month of disposable income for every one of those families to spend on, you name it, whatever that would be. To describe that as stimulating to the U.S. economy would be an understatement, and would also greatly increase the quality of life for any individual earning $2,000 a month. We would anticipate that a modular implementation like this could create 120,000 jobs in the United States, and it would eliminate the need for developers like Sola and others that are building affordable housings to rely on government subsidies in order to provide this type of housing for our low-income persons. Next slide, please. One of the true advantages to modular housing versus stick-built housing, and I think every presenter that has preceded me here today has commented on this as well, is that you can build much more quickly with modular housing than you can with traditional sticks and bricks. Part of the reason for that is because when you're building the units in a factory, you can be simultaneously doing your site work. So as soon as your permits are issued and you can begin grading and pouring a foundation for the property, you're also simultaneously building the units. So rather than needing to wait to frame the first floor before you can frame the second floor, before you can frame the third, and start doing your MEP installation, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, you can do all of that stuff simultaneously in the factory. Each unit that comes out of the factory has all of its mechanical, electrical, plumbing, sewer lines, et cetera, already put into the unit. It has its cabinetry, it has its appliances all installed. The toilet lid is shipped with inside the toilet, the toilet lid, to give you an idea of what comes out of the factory, is a complete virtually habitable unit. It needs electricity, and it will need its refrigerator rolled into place because that we don't ship with it being in place. But everything else is basically ready to go. We take the lid off of the toilet and wrap it in bubble wrap so it doesn't get broken, and we put it inside the bathtub so that it doesn't break. And so when the unit is craned into place, set down and welded into place, take the lid out of the toilet, out of the tub, you put it on the toilet. As soon as the water's connected to the building, you'll have a toilet that's ready to flush. So what that does is it cuts your construction time by about 33%. That's right now in 2025. Get us to 2027, we're probably cutting building times in half. If there's no reason why a modular construction project of, let's say, 100 units worth of size can't go from completion of permits to people living in it in 9 months to a year. There's the only reason, the only impediments to getting that done are building and safety departments and other red tape type of things, but technologically and construction integration-wise, there's no reason that can't be done. As I mentioned to Mr. Vasquez a few minutes ago, SOLA Impact, to give you an idea of, I should say Model Z, really. Sorry, I work for both companies. But Model Z scoured Southern California looking for a place to build our factory. We looked from Bakersfield to Redwood, to the Redlands, to the Inland Empire, Colton, Rialto, you name it. We ended up finding a vacant factory in Watts, California, 10 minutes from our headquarters, 160,000 square foot facility that had been vacant since the 60s. We renovated, and it is now 160,000 square foot modular housing factory in Los Angeles, California, of all places. People think we're kind of nuts for building a manufacturing facility in LA, but hey, it's worked out quite well. What this has done for us is it has eliminated what I'm going to call transportation risk. One of the challenges that we find in financing modular housing, and all my other predecessors have mentioned this as well, is that because modular is innovative in the world of construction and the world of housing, lenders haven't quite caught up yet with what we're all doing. One of the places where they haven't caught up with it is in transportation. If we have units being manufactured in Idaho, as you mentioned a second ago, they need to be put on a train or a truck and driven to Los Angeles. That's an awful lot of highway miles. Even that is probably less risky than putting them on a ship and shipping them across an ocean. Both of those things induce risks that give bankers, heart palpitations. So we're fortunate in that we have a factory located in the heart of the area where we build. Of those 3,000 units that I mentioned at the top of this discussion, virtually all of them are in South Los Angeles. Some of them are in opportunity zones, some of them are opportunity zone adjacent, but they're all in low-income areas in Los Angeles, one way or the other. Having a modular factory located just down the road from where the buildings themselves will be built is an extraordinary saving of both time and risk, which makes things great for our financing partners. Next slide, please. Thank you, and I love that you're hearing me turn the pages, thank you. One of the great things about modular, especially in a multifamily implementation that is very different from stick-built, is the way you apply learning from one project to the next. So your typical contractor building a building is going to become as good as it's going to be building that building the day they get a certificate of occupancy. They figured out all the quirks of the design, they figured out all the places where they need to adjust the framing here or there to meet the plans, et cetera. They get really great at the building, you get a certificate of occupancy, and they go on to the next plans. A modular housing unit is much more like an automobile. I'm sure we all remember what the first automobile I ever owned was manufactured in the 60s. It had a bunch of sharp objects inside the cab. It had lap seat belts. It was something borderline dangerous to drive. Thank goodness I never got in an accident. Point of the matter is that the automotive industry has figured out that you should have round, smooth things inside of vehicles because they don't hurt people as much when you get in accidents. They have airbags and so forth. And every single automobile manufactured today has benefited from all of that learning, and every automobile is much safer because of it. Modular housing, while the safety issues might not be quite the same thing, the learning applied from one unit to the next is the same general idea. Our first Model Z unit weighed 24,000 pounds and had, I'm not sure how many screws. But version 1.3 or whatever they're on right now has cut 6,000 pounds out of the weight of the unit. And it saved, there are 6,000 screws reduced out of the unit. All of this simplification is included in every single unit that moves forward. As we upgrade the internal systems to better sewer piping or better mechanicals or whatnot, each unit manufactured after that benefits from that improvement. So the innovative drive moving forward is a very critical one to support. Last item that's referred to on this slide really here is permitting and planning, and this is a place where the state of California could really be beneficial towards modular housing, especially in a multifamily kind of world. If you're building a Lego block housing unit, which is what we are doing, it is the same unit from one to the next, to the next, to the next. Hopefully I don't have to pay Lego for using their name here. There's no reason why that unit shouldn't be permitted once and be able to be deployed throughout any building project that is going to use similar construction styles. As it stands right now, modular housing is permitted at the California state level, not by the local building and safety level, so that is already a positive. We have California state inspectors in the factory daily to sign off each unit and slap a barcode on it so that each is uniquely identified. That's also helpful for us in the maintenance process as we move forward, because each barcoded unit will know exactly when it was manufactured and what its componentry is as that has evolved over time. So that maintenance will become easier down the road, also leading to lower costs. Next slide, please. One of the other components of the Model Z process, and will probably be adopted by other modular manufacturers, is custom software that helps us design the buildings. Because we are building with, again, a known shape, a rectangular unit that fits on the back of a truck that is of standard size. By taking the mapping of the city of Los Angeles, for example, knowing what the dimensions are of a given lot and plugging that into software that's been custom built for that, you can, in just a few seconds, literally seconds, begin massing a building and determining how many units would fit in what shapes on the building, how much parking do you want, what kind of covenanted affordability do you want, how do you want to meet the building code requirements, and come up with 5 or 10 different variations on the same building in literally seconds. Something that would take an architect weeks or months. That right there begins to cut time, and is part of the reason why we're able to realize such dramatic time savings when we're building the units. Another component of such software implementation that we haven't quite realized yet, but we'll get there, is that in being able to provide such quick solutions to what can be built in a given place, we unlock the ability to develop land without needing to transact it. And this is an incredibly valuable thing for creating wealth in communities where it exists currently. I should say retaining the wealth in communities where it exists currently. The current real estate paradigm, as I'm sure I don't have to tell you all, we want to go develop an apartment building, we need to buy the land and transact it from whoever owns it. So if that's a mom and pop or a family that's owned it for a long time, for them to recognize the economic gain from that property, they have to sell it to us, and that's the end of their economic benefit. By being able to say to them, we could build you a 30-unit building or a 60-unit building or an 80-unit building in very short order, we're able to partner with them in a joint venture so they retain the land while we then end up developing it with them as their JV partner to make that happen without having to transact the land from them. That keeps the wealth in their hands and doesn't have to have it all accrue to us or an investor group or whatever else, which is a very positive long-term wealth retention system for South LA and other low-income areas. Our modular housing scales in a way that stick-built construction doesn't scale. Stick-built construction, no matter what you do, you have to start on the ground floor and you have to continue to move up, and you guys can picture how a building gets built. There's only so many people you can put to work on a building to get it built more quickly. Whatever that number is, there's some finite number limited by physics and safety. But with a factory situation, you can run multiple shifts in a factory. You can be continuing to manufacture units while you're identifying land parcels and acquiring that land one way or the other, acquiring the rights to build it, so that you're able to, let me rephrase, let me think about how I want to say this. Not only are you able to do what I just described, but that continuous learning about process, the continuous learning about how to manufacture the units makes it more efficient day to day to be able to manufacture those units. So you are increasing your speed of manufacture. This allows you to scale up to build more housing in a shorter period of time. One more slide, please. One of the other great benefits of our modular housing factory, as we have it right now, is that generally speaking, the skill of labor required to manufacture the units is relatively low. We were able to hire virtually all of the work staff at our factory in Watts from the local community. We launched a vocational program to train workers who had been long is that a word? Longly unemployed or otherwise underemployed, and train them in the job duties necessary to be able to assemble these units. The units themselves have templates and jigs that allow them to be quickly roughed into shape and then finished in manufactured tolerances that our team that comes from SpaceX and GM and Toyota, they're used to building to thousandths of an inch. Our unit needs to be spec'd to 16th of an inch, so for them that feels very easy. At any rate, we're able to provide high-quality living wage jobs very easily in each factory that we build. We have built a factory. It has completed its 435th unit as of the other day. Solar Impact, the real estate developer, has 500 units worth of housing, of Model Z housing that is in process currently as we speak. The first of those buildings, 6200 Broadway, is going to see its units set in place beginning August 5th. By set in place, that means that the foundation will be complete. Cranes will arrive and we'll begin assembling the building like Lego blocks, again, to use that analogy. Each unit gets put in place, it gets welded first to the foundation and then welded to each successive unit that goes into it. And when they're complete, all the connections are made from one unit to the next so that the entire building has water, sewage, electricity, et cetera. How can the BOE help? Would be one of the questions I think I would like to be able to pose to you guys. How can the BOE help? As I mentioned to Member Vasquez a minute ago, Solar Impact, the real estate developer who does largely affordable housing, we've made a significant use of the welfare tax exemption for our affordable product. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. It's a very useful tool for being able to bring lower cost housing to market. Something like modular housing, if it were in the BOE's mind or the California government's mind, you could incentivize the development of modular housing by providing exemptions from property taxes for some amount of years, for example. Or I don't know if any of you also work in perhaps with the Franchise Tax Board or whomever it is that deals with sales taxes. Every single component that you can see in the picture of this Model Z unit, that's an actual interior of one of the units. Every component in there had sales tax charged on it. Sales taxes would amount to roughly 10% of the cost. A waiver on sales taxes for affordable housing and or for modular housing would greatly stimulate the number of players that would want to come into market for it because it would reduce their cost to deliver the unit to the market. I think I'm going to leave it there.
Thank you. And listening to your presentation, now, one of the things that hit me is the issue of moving forward, and you kind of touched on it now in terms of what possibly could incentivize from our end of it. And you mentioned, I think all these projects, at least that you're currently working with, have all been done privately. You haven't used much state or federal funding on this, is that correct?
That's correct. We've raised private equity from both family offices, high net worth individuals, some institutional investors, the likes of CalSTRS, PayPal, Standard Insurance. We combine their private equity with privately placed debt, and by privately placed, I just mean with banks and debt funds and so forth, to build in a really traditional real estate model.
And I posed the same question to the panel earlier on the customization. What's been your experience on those units?
Customization and standardization is pretty critical to a successful modular enterprise, as far as we're concerned. There may be other ways to go about that, but many of the modular manufacturers that have preceded us have failed because they've started on January 1st. I'm just going to make up some math for you here. They've started on January 1st with a contract to build a modular affordable housing project that looks like one of ours, let's say, for example. And by February 28th, they've completed the construction of all those units and they go on to their next contract. That's going to be for a senior assisted living facility someplace. Completely different floor plan, completely different hallway width, completely different finishes, fixtures, specifications for drain covers, completely different. So basically they're completely retooling their supply chain and starting all over again. And then they finish that 60 days later, and now they're going to build a public school in Orange County. And there's completely different fixtures and specs and blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. Each one of those changes requires them to retool their supply chain and so forth. Now, customization, depending on what degree of customization you're doing, could look like that, and that would be a disaster, I think, for that company. Or it might look like different paint fixtures, which is a piece of cake, or it might look like different floor plan configurations based out of modular assembly units, which is probably the most possible of all of those things. Our own company currently builds a one-bedroom floor plan. That's what's most demanded here in Los Angeles. We're making a move towards a 2- and 3-bedroom floor plan by essentially taking the left side and right side units that we have and putting a hallway between them or an open space between them. So what started out as 2 side-by-side units with 2 kitchens and 2 bedrooms and so forth is now opened up with no kitchen in the second area, much larger common area, we'll call it, and bedrooms on the other side. So you can custom configure in that sense to make an expanded set of floor plans.
And up to this point, your company is really focused more on family units versus ADUs. Is that correct?
That's correct. I would refine that to say multifamily apartment
Or
buildings.
multi.
And I'm only making that specification because typically we're building a 1-bedroom unit, which can house a small family, but is not really what I would think of as a family unit. Whereas a 2- and a 3-bedroom unit would be certainly identified for families.
Thank you. We have a couple questions here. Let me start with Member Schaefer.
Yes, thank you for your vigorous presentation. I don't know that we have any authority over granting you a sales tax waiver for,
Can't hurt to
I
ask.
think it's a good idea. You'd have to talk to the legislature about that. Are you making such a pitch?
Not yet, but I would welcome an invitation to do so.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued that 4 of your 12 pictures here are in Compton. George Herbert Walker Bush, President of the United States, number 41, lived in Compton in World War II when he had military housing. I just finished a biography of that. But I used to represent a bunch of tenants suing landlords in Compton in 1970, and the community was 65% Black then. It's become 71% Latino now, which is a sea change, but it still has a reputation for citywide violence, gang violence. That's associated quite often with theft of copper from construction sites. You know what I'm talking about. Do you have any criminal awareness down there where maybe you can't get insurance that you need? It's more difficult to sell. I would suppose things have been changed substantially over the last 50 years, and I think a community that's 71% Latino is going to tend to be a lot safer and more inviting and more insurable. But now that you're 1/3 of your 12 units are invested there, I wonder if you could talk to me a little bit about what's different about it than what I knew back 50 years ago.
Well, with respect, I have to say I wasn't there.
There's
50
a
years
reason
ago.
you're investing there instead of building in San Diego County. A big thing is that land is cheaper.
Part of the reason, yes, we typically build what we'll call where the sidewalk ends. So we're looking for land that we can acquire at reasonable land bases, because again, affordability starts with what it costs to build. And so affordability of land is the very first cost that we're going to expend. As to crime, I think South Los Angeles's crime profile is well understood by one and all. Management of property is rather one of the successes that we have in managing properties, right, is that we do our best to find the highest quality tenants that we can, tenants that want to live where we have for them. We try to be a good landlord and provide them strategies for success. For example, our residents as they move in, most of whom have Section 8 vouchers. We are able to partner with about 50 nonprofits and for-profits throughout the Los Angeles area to provide things like furniture, housing, house cleaning supplies, bags of groceries upon move-in, so that our residents are set up for success, not failure as they move in. And with all that said, yes, there are some knuckleheads that spoil the bliss, and we manage aggressively to try to keep our properties as healthy and family-friendly as possible. And I would have to say we have pretty good success at that, better than most, I would expect. As for building materials, you've hit on something I don't think anybody at our company has ever even talked about, but job site security and the security of building materials, including copper piping, is certainly addressed when you're building in a factory rather than building on a job site. So that's one more positive benefit I guess I'd never even thought of. Does it have answered your question?
Well, that's good. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Deputy Controller, and then I think the Member Gaines also, Chair.
Thank you, Member Vasquez. You know, in this life of startups, I come from San Francisco, which is one of the startup capitals of the world. You go through your growing pains. And I was going through this report from a 2022 UC Berkeley Turner Center of Housing. They've come presented here many times before to the board. They found that few low-income housing developments in Southern California had tried modular construction, with the first project experiencing delays and cost increases due to inexperience and unclear division of work between the manufacturer and the general contractor. And a look back into the history of it, there was a very well-known company called Katera. It was a $3 billion startup that was specializing in off-site construction, putting their money into technology. In 2017, it was ranked one of the best places to work, and less than 6 years later, it goes bankrupt, one of the largest startups to ever go bankrupt. So what lessons have we learned from the past and moving into the future of how this industry is going to be here and stay for the future? Thank you.
Got to say, it's a great question. A great pair of questions, really. Let's start with your Turner Center question. Sola Impact, the developer, our first two modular projects were the manufacturers, plural, of those units, two different manufacturers, both went out of business while they were manufacturing our units. Now, when we mention challenges in financing modular housing, that is challenge number one right there. How does a lender underwrite the risk, not just of the developer knowing what they're doing, not just of being able to have a contractor that knows what he or she is doing, but now you've also got a third component, it's the factory. Do they know what they're doing? We experienced kind of what would be the ultimate nightmare. In both cases, two different companies, they went out of business while we were working with them. Our solution to that was to go put our own labor into their factories to finish our units under both of these different circumstances. Now, what did that do? That increased the cost of the project, both cases. Oh, well, that's what you gotta get in there, roll up your sleeves and get the project done. That's what we did and got them done. So part of the learning from that experience was, well, we know how to do this better. Part of the reason why those two companies failed is because of exactly what I said before about on day one, they've got a modular housing facility, day 60, they've got a senior assisted living facility and so forth. Their throughput in their factory wasn't adequate to keep their own lights on, right? One of the lessons that we learned as we go start our Model Z project is we're going to build one unit, and what we're going to have as a developer that has line of sight on enough land acquisition and enough actual developments to be able to have the throughput for the factory so that we can build these units, keep the factory lights on, and keep that mechanism moving. Sola Impact, the real estate developer, if I may be so immodest, we're pretty innovative, and we're very good at getting buildings built. We've completed 800 some odd units over the last couple of years where interest rates have tripled, where permanent interest rates have doubled, where the cost of materials and labor have escalated some 30%. So we're learning these lessons as we move forward, and going to modular housing done correctly is a way to bring down those costs of construction. The second question to Katera, we'd studied Katera quite closely to understand what did they do wrong. They raised billions of dollars and failed. We raised $12 million and we got a new markets tax credit for allocation that amounted to about $5 million. We don't want to fail. What did they do wrong? The first thing that they did is they built their factories incorrectly. They built their factories by automating them before they actually had a provable concept of what they wanted to build. What is our unit going to be? I don't know, but let's buy all this fancy gear, right? So they spent millions upon millions upon millions of dollars without actually having a product to put out. We started by identifying what the product is we want to build and building it with manual labor, essentially, and then figuring out where we can add automation that will help us. We just installed our first crane in the factory to pick up units and carry it down the assembly line just a few weeks ago after being open and profitable for more than a year. So I can't speak to the overall problems at Katera, I can't speak to the overall problems that Katera experienced, but I can speak to that one as a glaring example of what not to do from the way that we looked at it.
Understood. I'm running out of time here. I do have one more question. So even as communities struggle with housing shortages in California, local governments continue to use discriminatory zoning and land use regulations to block development and placement of modular homes. These restrictions are often placed in outdated and stigmatized ways about people living in modular homes, making it nearly impossible to expand affordable housing options. How has exclusionary zoning practices limited access to the use of modular housing? And how can we at the Board of Equalization push local governments to adopt zoning reforms? And if you can keep this answer just a two or three sentences, that'd be great. Thank you.
Well, I think I'm going to guess that some of the commentary there is really focused more on manufactured homes, mobile homes, if you will, as opposed to modular housing units. A completed multifamily building that we have built would be virtually indistinguishable from a stick-built building. You would need to know that it had been done modularly or have seen it done to be able to identify it differently from a stick-built building. So I wouldn't expect to find discriminatory zoning practices that would eliminate one of our buildings. And so far, we've had nothing but highly receptive response from the LA Building Department.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Chair Gaines, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate your presentation. And I'm just looking at this cost per unit at $279,000. And what does that work out to on a square footage basis? Do you know?
Well, forgive me, I don't have that right at hand.
Oh, okay.
It would vary from one building to the next. And rather than hazard a guess, sir, I'm going to request that I can follow that one up with an email. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, that'd be fine, because you're showing a lot of projects here that are falling underneath or close to that.
Yes,
And those are all projects that you've done.
they're all completed.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Thank
Those were
you.
built, most of those projects were built traditionally, to be fair, but we do, as opposed to modularly. But as I mentioned earlier, our expectation is that we'll be able to bring the total all-in cost with modular significantly below what it costs to build with sticks currently.
Okay, all right, very good. And liked your ideas in terms of ability to finance and possible exemptions. You're suggesting an exemption for modular construction specifically.
Well, I mean, if it were in the state's interest to incentivize innovative housing methods and outcomes, then yes, something that causes it to be a more economically viable project for its investors and its developers that will bring more investors and developers into the arena. I'm sure this is completely obvious, but I'll say it so we all know what I'm saying. If you're a for-profit entity and you want to build something, you're only going to do it if the building pencils, as we say, right? If it's going to make money. And so incentives offered at the state level in the form of property tax exemptions, for example, or any other incentives that you might have in mind, even tax credits for green building or that kind of thing. That's going to incentivize more developers to come into the arena and build, which will help us solve the affordable housing crisis that we see right now.
Yeah, and the cost savings, what are you seeing in terms of cost savings for modular versus traditional construction of apartment units, which is what you really specialize in apartments?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
Virtually everything that we do is multifamily housing. And again, our unit would be adaptable to ADUs, but and it is being so, but really it's a multifamily unit. The answer to the question is twofold. And if you'll give me a little leeway, I will say that if you were to ask me that question again in a year, the difference is going to be dramatic. Right now, the cost is roughly the same to build with modular as it is to build with sticks. Part of the reason for that is the increasing development of a modular unit and what is entailed in completing the finished building. Let me give you an example. You have a 100-unit apartment building. Not only do you have apartment units that are those Lego blocks I keep referring to, but you also have stairwells, elevators, mail rooms, bicycle storage rooms that are not cookie-cutter units. And the figuring out of how to manufacture and develop those non-standardized units will be a major cost savings towards the completion of a building, right? Number one. Number two, as contractors become more familiar with building modularly, contractors themselves will figure out how to make their bids more cost effective. Because this is still a new technology, a lot of contractors we find in the bids that they give us before we go value engineer them, they're really overbidding, they're double bidding things. There is no need for a widespread sewage program or drain program because the drains are already contained within the units, right? And so a lot of times the first draft bids that we get from contractors include things that are already built into the unit. The unit is self-contained and it contains essentially the entire infrastructure of the building contained within the unit itself. So as that industry, our sister industry in contracting, becomes more familiar with modular, we should see dramatic cost savings as well coming forward. As it stands right now, the total all-in cost of a unit is a little over $100,000 for the unit itself. You have roughly that again in on-site hard costs, and then roughly that again in financing, land acquisition, admin, et cetera. So that puts that cost at about $300,000 a door compared with the $279 that we're
Yeah.
at Sticks.
Okay. And is that, what size unit would that be?
420 square foot, one-bedroom unit.
One bedroom, okay.
If you were to double that and do the 2 and 3 bedroom unit that I was describing a minute ago, that cost would come down somewhat on a per square foot basis because you would need separate kitchens and so forth.
Yeah, okay.
One of the slides that my predecessors put up on the screen, which was fantastic, was the cost reduction in orbital payload over time versus the non-cost reduction in construction over time.
Yeah.
It is exactly that mechanism that we're looking at with modular, that they're looking at, that everybody's looking at with modular, because you can standardize and rinse and repeat. You're able to bring overall cost savings and efficiencies in that you can't do with construction.
Right, okay. Very good, thank you.
It looks like we have one question, one more down at the end here by Member Schaefer.
Yes, I'm very impressed that you've gone into these challenging areas and succeeded so well. I am particularly impressed with the widespread availability of rents at $1,000 a month. How does that relate to maybe having condominiumized a building where you could put an owner in there for $1,000 a month? If you're talking about a $250,000 deal and you can finance it 95% maybe, and you can get the money at 4 or 5% under some type of government guaranteed program, you could come up with $1,000 a month mortgage payment. It would be a squeeze, but I'd rather see 10, 20,000 people buying homes instead of renting.
As would I. I think that the primary challenges to achieving what you're describing, which are solvable, but they're not easy ones, are the cost of debt. And as we sit in 2025 right now, what is a 30-year fixed mortgage? Is it 6%, something like that? So maybe higher. So you would need something subsidized at the state level in a current paradigm in order to bring that cost down. The other consideration is that in the economics of a multifamily building like that, you would assume that the debt was something like approximately 60% of the cost of the building, something like that. And as soon as you condominiumize that on the same scale, you'd still be talking about a relatively significant down payment to go along with that $1,000 a month monthly payment. Solving for that down payment would be, at least in a low income situation, would be a bit of a challenge for an individual homeowner, I would expect. In my past, I worked as a mortgage broker. The hardest thing for anybody to come up with in the 3 parts that you need to finance a house, right? Down payment, good credit, and good income. The hardest one to come up with is the down payment. Sure. Those savings that you need. So the state could step in with grants and so forth and provide what I might call loss guarantees on the loans for something that would provide a lot of comfort to lenders and so forth.
Well, when I started out as an investor, there were no condos, back in the 1950s. And then it became the fire sale, and a lot of people got very rich by just simply buying an apartment house and subdividing it.
Yeah, sure.
So, now we are experts in that, and there are homeless people that will inherit $10,000 or $20,000 from a deceased parent. Boom. If they could buy a condo for $10,000 down, you'd have some of these people you wouldn't expect to be buyers.
Certainly, as costs come down to construct buildings, and using modular is a way to do that, then you could expect the cost of entry-level home ownership to come down as well, yes, for sure.
Yeah. Well, again, I appreciate all you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neal, for your presentation. Appreciate it. Let's move on to our next speaker. I see Chris Hannon in the back, patiently waiting. Come on up. While you're coming up, let me just, this is our third agenda item, input on unique aspects of the modular housing industry as it relates to labor, cost of construction, and recommendations of board consideration moving forward. Our final speaker is Chris Hannon, President of the State Building and Construction Trades Council of California. Thank you for joining us today. I know you got a real busy schedule, and appreciate, and I'll let you go on with your presentation and concerns that you might have.
Of course. Good afternoon, honorable board members, honorable chair, and yes, board member Vasquez, always patient. Our perspective, and thank you for getting labor's perspective on modular housing construction. Generally, our perspective is similar to, others in labor when you're looking to outsource their jobs. If you're looking to outsource to pay a lower wage, if you're looking to outsource to build out of the area, those are things that we traditionally do not stand for. Evolving technology in construction, we've always evolved in technology. You can go back and look at buildings that were built over 100 years ago, and we didn't have paneling when we were forming concrete, and you could see the lines of the planks. We didn't have, the types of equipment that we have today. We deal with, in industrial settings, we deal with skid-mounted equipment many times, and we adapt to that. Modular housing and modular construction in general is no different to evolving technology, and our members are going to adapt. The work done on site, we think those should be the highest quality jobs possible. Same thing with the labor that's provided off site. One of the presenters earlier, mentioned a workforce that was retiring and not much incentive to enter the construction workforce. That's not our experience at the building trades. Just down the street from Altadena and still in the Dinas in Pasadena, you have the operating engineers, local union hall. The last time they took apprenticeship applications without putting a cap on the numbers, they received over 10,000 applicants. Also in Pasadena, you have the IBW. There is a line to get in the IBW. So the number of people willing to enter the trades, there is no shortage of people that want to enter the trades, that want to start with an apprenticeship where they can work their way up and get all the training they need for their career. So there's no shortage of people that want to work for a good wage, have family supporting wages so that someday they could be a homeowner and pay property taxes in the state of California. Reaching into communities, make sure we're lifting up everybody. We have over 115 apprenticeship readiness programs all throughout the state of California. We even have programs in CDCR. So we have programs prior to release. We have programs post-release. We have programs for everybody, partnering with local school districts, community-based organizations, and community colleges, all looking to introduce the trades to people. One thing about construction that is, it's still a difficult way to earn a living. There's still a lot of logistics, and not only is there some people that, aren't willing to do that or is not attractive to them, we do have potential members that would love to enter construction, but logistically can't make it work for childcare, for caring for another family member, for a whole host of other reasons. Modular housing done the right way can present opportunities to introduce the trades and have a set workplace with set work hours where you can accommodate things like childcare, where you can accommodate things like caring for a family member. So it is an avenue done the right way to open the trades up to more people. An example is Full Stack Modular. Full Stack Modular has a factory in Carson, California. They are, we believe, really doing it the right way. We have a labor peace agreement with Full Stack, not only for the Carson factory, but anywhere that they locate a factory in the state of California, they've agreed to remain neutral with their workforce organizing. We're now dispatching union members not only from trades like the IBW, the laborers, the plumbers, also the carpenters. We have union iron workers constructing the frames for the modular housing units. We have union sprinkler fitters installing the fire sprinklers with state certifications. So the quality there is substantial. I personally was in the factory last week. The quality looked fantastic. The opportunities to foster good careers and to provide training. They had a mini training center set up in a corner of the factory where the journey level foreman from the painters and allied trades was helping train other workers in there. So there are opportunities to do it right. We embrace opportunities to do things right within the building trades where we're uplifting people. Yes, there is a housing shortage in California. There's also an income inequality problem in the state of California, not just in the state of California, within the United States. But, you know, housing availability and housing shortage is much an income inequality issue as a housing supply issue. So in solving the housing supply issue, which we're ready to build, and whether it be modular, whether it be multifamily, whether it be any type of construction, we're ready to build, and not just the infrastructure, we're ready to tape the walls, we're ready to, you know, install the, you know, the glass, the roof, everything, we're ready to build. We look for it to be a good job opportunity. So when we're providing things like financing options, like tax credits, we think there should be set-asides for doing it the right way. So where there's training standards, where there's prevailing wage, where there's neutrality. We think that if a tax credit is being provided, and you know, jobs is an issue, and we believe jobs should always be an issue within the labor movement, that we should be creating good jobs and we should be creating careers so that we're not only providing a job, and as soon as we're done with somebody doing that task, we're providing a career with training so that we can have a lifelong path for everyone. So again, on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council, the 450,000 members of our affiliates, the nearly 65,000 apprentices in union construction programs throughout the state of California. There's no labor shortage in the state of California. There's an opportunity shortage. There's a job shortage of providing good opportunities. And we will partner with the state. We will partner with the development community to do it the right way. And that includes modular housing. And I invite all of you to come out and visit the Full Stack Modular Factory in Carson, California, as an example for doing it the right way. You know, there's going to be real shortly, they're going to be pumping out 4 a day from that facility. They're quality units, and it can be done the right way.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I haven't done or visit the housing piece, but when I mentioned earlier about the school construction, I was involved with, like I said, the South Bay, and in that particular prefab high school, we had a PLA, a project labor union, which really helped, and the union was really supportive. At the end of the day, it not only was done right, but it came under budget and on time.
Yeah, absolutely, and we use it as a chance. We talk about apprenticeship as something positive everywhere throughout the United States. The region that you're talking about has the highest concentration of apprentices anywhere in the country. That region has roughly the same number of apprentices in construction because of opportunities from those PLAs as the next largest state. Just in that one region. You talk about the state of California, we have more than the next 3 largest states for every apprentice they have in every occupation, just in construction here. So there's a lot of opportunities to do it the right way. We're gonna evolve as a labor movement, but we're not gonna stop fighting for great jobs and great careers. When we're working on the factory floor, or we're working on this construction site, whatever it takes to build that piece of housing, that school, that whatever we're building, it should be the best opportunity for someone to move forward in life. And that's what we're all about.
And I noticed I guess it just happened last week, or you might have signed it a couple days ago, the governor on AB, I guess it was 130 and also SB 131. And I know for a while there was some issues with labor, but it sounds like you all came to an agreement on that, or is it still up in the air?
We come to agreement in a short amount of time on 130. 131, we believe there needs to be some cleanup on it. 130, there were some good things that got into it, and then there were some things that we were less than happy about that came out of it. But we still think a lot more work can be done to create great jobs within the construction space, building the housing.
I see a couple hands. Let me go with Member Schaefer.
Yes, Mr. Hannon, I'm very impressed with the career that you've built, and I'm grateful that as a state officer, you've come to speak to us today. I see you started out as an apprentice sprinkler fitter, and that must have been back in your teen days, and that you spent a lot of time in Orange County. I'm a big investor in Disney, so I know that was challenges. I grew up on the city council of San Diego, where I dealt with R.R. Richardson, Johnny Lyons of the Teamsters, Max Oslo, the Beat Cutters, and had a good working relationship and learned how important it is. The first apartment house I bought was financed by the Retirement Carpenters Fund. I sent out a check to them every month. So I appreciate everything you've had to share with us today, and I hope to hear more from you. Thank you.
As a state certified sprinkler fitter and a sprinkler fitter that nearly 30 years ago was indentured into an apprenticeship program. I personally worked out at Disney. I've worked on single family homes. I've worked on multifamily. I've worked on, hospitals and defense projects. So we get the training for our career. We have residential sprinkler fitters in the area, and I still live in Orange County, California. So,
Have you had a chance to be a guest professor at one of our institutions? You have so much to teach people.
I had a chance to be a guest professor at Sprinkler Fitters UA Local 709's apprenticeship school, but haven't had that opportunity yet in life, but maybe someday.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Yvette Stower, Executive Director. Speaking of labor, it is 1:12. The cafeteria will be closing at 2:00, and my team needs a lunch now.
Okay.
I need lunch.
Do we have just one last question? Go ahead, Member Gaines.
Just briefly, I want to thank you for your presentation. Thank you for what you do in the state of California in terms of getting things built, which is so critical. And we've got this huge housing crisis that we need to figure out how to resolve. So I'm glad that in terms of membership, you've got people lining up to go through your apprentice programs, and because labor is a big issue in terms of you can't build anything if you don't have the right amount of labor to get things done. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
And our vice chair has one quick one before
I'll
we
just
break.
briefly add, also when we're contemplating potentially putting forward proposals for tax credits, I know that something that the legislature and the governor would definitely be looking for is that kind of double bottom line where the apprenticeships and the moving forward in an actual bona fide career while providing affordable housing and the other things that the building trades build would be a necessary component. So thank you for being here today.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Thank you for allowing me to give labor's perspective on this subject.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for your insights, and we'll be in contact, I know, as we move forward with possible recommendations as it pertains to labor issues with the modular industry moving forward. It's all about expediting, but at the end of the day, we got to make sure that we're not cutting corners on the labor front.
State Building Trades is available to work with you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, folks, we'll hold the comments and wrap up discussion on this until after lunch. Sorry about that. It was such a good topic and some good speakers that we kind of ran over.
I appreciate you guys for your understanding, but
Not a problem. I have 1:15, so we need an hour, I'm assuming, so we're looking at 2:15, returning back. All right, thank you.
Return at 2:15, great.
I would have liked to ask these people about the
Hello, my name is Lisa Thompson, the State Board of Equalization's Taxpayers' Rights Advocate. This year, our annual Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing will be held on Wednesday, August 20th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Everyone is invited to come before the elected members of the State Board of Equalization to have their voices heard. You can participate in person, by phone, or submit written comments before the hearing. We welcome comments, suggestions, or concerns about California's property tax system, the recent Advocates Annual Report, and the Alcoholic Beverage Tax Program. For more information, please visit www.boe.ca.gov/TRA. We look forward to your participation.